Like, maybe you're right, T. Maybe it doesn't matter. But there was a problem. And the reason I think the NGOs attacked me is because there was a flaw in our master plan. And the flaw in our master plan is that we were working with a mercenary army. So now we have the affiliates, which are linked to the school, Hustlers University. Because the affiliates worked out that they make the most money if they put up the most controversial clips of me. Because if you put up the clip, not the whole clip, where I say in bed that if a girl picks up a machete and tries to attack me, I will take the machete off her, put it in her face and say, shut up, bitch. No, not the whole clip. They take the last part, put a machete in a girl's face and say, shut up, bitch. Only that part. And post that, because that gets the most engagement. That goes the most viral. They get the most sales. And they're mercenaries. They're in it for the money, these students. So in many ways, they're making me look bad. And I say to Tristan, students are making me look kind of bad here, the way they're putting all this stuff out. And Tristan's like, who gives a shit? You're cool. We're making $10 million a month. Who gives a fuck? Bad guy, good guy, what does it matter? So when all of this is going on, the NGOs pop up. And from then on out, from that exact moment, Jack, I knew I was fucked. I just knew I was fucked. But I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. This is in August of 2022. 3 days later, I wake up and my girlfriend wakes me up next to me. Andrew. I'm like, whoa, what? Look at this. Gives me her phone and there's a BBC News article. Andrew Tate, misogynistic influencer, is banned from social media for being a dangerous person. Back then, now bans are a common thing. Everyone's desensitized to it. Back then, the only people who had been blanket banned on the internet were Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes. I was number 3. And I was bigger than them. And by this point, I had become, in 2022, because of the affiliate army, the most Googled man on the planet. My mercenary army grew to 28,000 fan pages, posting endless Tate content. Do you remember the days where you couldn't get rid of me? You couldn't get rid of me from the algo. I was TikTok, I was Instagram, I was everywhere. 28,000 kids posting me all day, every day. We built an interactive library of everything I'd ever made. It was all transcribed. So when you went into the interactive library, you'd type Bugatti, every Bugatti clip would come up. You'd type heartbreak. Every time I'd ever said heartbreak in any video, because they were transcribed, it would come up. You could make lifestyle edits, and they'd take it all, and they'd post it, post. And if their account got banned, because they're from Peru, and they're making $300 a day affiliate, they're not going to go get a job for $300 a month. They just make a new one. Like a virus, like Agent Smith in The Matrix, like ants. You can't kill them. And they're just out there posting. And then they realize they make the most money if they post my most controversial stuff. And my most controversial stuff is out there by 28,000 fan accounts posting 4 or 5 times an hour. And the entire algorithm is mine. And this may be the most Googled man on planet Earth. My school's now at 300,000 students. $15 million turnover a month. 15 million times 12 is 15 times 10, 150. Plus the 30 is 180 million turnover at 80% margin, a 10x multiply, which is pretty simple for an ed tech business, especially with a margin like mine. $1 billion business, 1.2 billion, 9 months old, me and 6 dudes in the Telegram chat. I'm a billionaire. And I open up this BBC article on my girlfriend's phone, and it said that my views have become so destructive and I'm doing so much damage to the planet and to the consciousness of young men that I had to be removed from all social media. This was on her phone. I was like, well, that's inconvenient that they've deleted me everywhere. I was like, let me have a coffee. So I put the phone down. I went to get a coffee. And as I was walking to get a coffee, I opened up my phone. When I opened my phone, it said, your Apple ID is signed out. Well, that's weird. Okay. Went to click Twitter. Your Twitter's signed out. Clicked WhatsApp. Your WhatsApp's been deleted. Clicked Instagram. Of course, signed out. Clicked Gmail. Signed out. They pressed a button, Jack, and wiped every single thing from my phone. The Apple ID itself, so I couldn't download apps, and every single application was logged out. Uber, Airbnb, Skype, any app on my phone, all of them were gone.
Coinbase?
Everything. Every single app. All of my bank accounts, Coinbase. I had a NatWest and a HSBC bank in England. They seized all that money. We'll talk about that soon. Everything was frozen. Everything was gone. My entire phone just became a brick. And I called a friend of mine from my girlfriend's phone. I said, how the fuck can they do this? And he said, they put you on a terror watch list. They can only do that if you're on a terror watch list. And I was like, surely not terror. The fuck? I'll call you back. Here I film my final message.
All that's left for me to do is have a positive impact on the world. I don't think anybody truly wants to go down as a villain. Maybe some people do. I don't. I wasn't raised that way.
I sit down on the chair and I give my final message to the world. I decided to retire from the internet. I thought, you know what, Andrew? You made $100 million. You got $1 billion business. They're after you. You're starting to feel a bit paranoid. It's getting hot. You have a very credible source telling you you're on a terror watch list. Once you're on a terror watch list, all bets are off. There's no more law. There's no more constitution. All that's gone. They can shoot you in the middle of the street. Police can come up and just shoot you and go, terrorist threat. End the story. And the basic premise was that I had so much power over the young men in 2022 that I could have caused a revolution. They're probably right. I probably could have said, fuck the Matrix, Westminster Palace tonight. Let's take over. And it would have been the fucking end. Please understand, the Matrix does not fear women. This is why they empower women. This is why they constantly attack me for being a misogynist. They want women to be as powerful as possible because you know what happens when women are powerful? Nothing. If women protest, if 100,000 women march through this town right now and protest, it's inconvenient. If 100,000 men march through this town, everything burns and the entire government changes. Men can fight. Men are armies. Women don't matter. They don't give a shit if women protest. They don't give a fuck. So you want women at the top of the pyramid. You want women as powerful as possible so that women are in charge of society so that you can just stay at the top of your castle stealing and raping and pillaging from everybody. Just stealing all the money, destroying society, importing whoever, breaking all the laws. And what's going to happen? A bunch of women are going to nag. Give a fuck. When men get together, it's not called a protest. It's called a revolution. Women don't do revolutions. They can't. So they deliberately empower women to subjugate men. That's why masculinity has been under such attack. And I came along and was the most Googled man in the world promoting masculinity, not realizing this was putting me at war against the Matrix itself. I wasn't even political at that time. I didn't even talk about political parties. I just said to young men, stand up for yourself, go to the gym, stick for what you believe in. You're allowed an opinion. You matter too. And that was considered so dangerous. I ended up on a terror watch list and they wiped my entire phone. And the country that put me on a terror watch list, do you want to guess?
US.
Incorrect, sir. England. Great Britain put me on a terror watch list. The Foreign Office, in the paperwork I later saw, which they wrote to the Romanians, said, he is an unchecked source of influence. And they believed I was going to cause a revolution. Now, anybody at home who thinks that the intelligence agencies that are here to protect and serve us aren't primarily concerned with preventing a revolution is a fool. The CIA, the FBI, MI6, MI5, whoever, they don't care about much besides two things. Stealing money from around the world in the form of resources. There's a country here, Gambia. If we overthrow the president and put in a new president, we get control of the copper mines. Fuck democracy. Fuck who dies. We want copper because this is the American empire. Overthrow the Gambian government. Or I don't know, imagine there's oil in some random country, Venezuela. Who gives a shit? That's what they do. And the second thing they have a concern with, besides stealing money from all around the world, is preventing revolution. The primary objective of intelligence agencies today is to prevent a revolution. Do you think when you walk down the street and talk to basically anybody out here, they don't want to rebel? The system's fucked, bro. We all know the system's fucked. Nobody can buy a house. Everything's fucked. Crime's getting worse. Taxes are going up. Currency's inflating. Everything's fucked. Everyone knows it, but we don't rebel. Why? Because there are many mechanisms, social media algorithms being one. 2, how hard they punish the people who even consider doing something as silly as waving a flag outside the Capitol. Their primary objective is to prevent a revolution. And they said the most Googled man on the planet now, who's saying young men should stand up for themselves and not be afraid to die for their ideas, the most popular person on the planet, is talking about how the Matrix is enslaving them all, how they need to resist, break free. They watched my videos, MI6, and they thought, this is a national security threat. He's on the same level as Osama bin Laden. And that was the UK government. And that is when my phone got wiped.
Why the UK? What's the most important thing we need to understand about UK politics at that point in time?
The UK has always been more left than even the Dems. And at the time, the Dems were in power when all this was happening. Please remember, guys, when all of this was happening, you got banned on the internet for saying there was more than 2 genders. They ban you. You got banned for saying the COVID vaccine was dangerous. They ban you. The internet was complete Stasi. Now, why couldn't they just ban me? Well, they did. But why didn't it work?
Clipping.
28,000 fan pages. So when I made, and I think another reason to answer your question, why the UK decided I was the threat, is because although I am born American, I grew up in England. I'm seen as English. I'm from Luton. And I was bigger in England than I ever was in America.
Really?
The English people were really tired of their government, and they still are. So when I make my final message, I talked to Tristan. I said, enough is enough. We've done well. Tristan goes, we can do more. I said, Tristan, have you ever heard the story, the sword of Damocles? And he said, yes. And I recited the story to him about how there was a king once in a chair, and the slave walked in and said, how does it feel to be in that chair? How does it feel to be the king? All these beautiful women are feeding you grapes, and everyone's fanning you, and you give an order, and everyone does whatever you say. It must be so amazing to be the king. And he said to the slave, tomorrow you get to be the king. Tomorrow you can sit in this king's chair, and I'll be the slave. And the slave is so excited, he goes home, he can't sleep. He wakes up the next day, so excited, he runs into the chamber, sits on the throne, he gets to be the king. The beautiful women start giving him the grapes. He's giving orders, do this, do that, bring me this, bring me that. They're doing everything he says. He feels so happy. And then he looks up above him and he sees a sword hanging by a single horse's hair. And for the rest of the day, he can't enjoy his life because he knows at any moment that hair can break and the sword will fall on his head and he will die. And the king who has taken his place, who's the slave, looks above him. He has no sword. He has a humble life, but he has no sword above his head. So when you're at this stage, when you're the most Googled man in the world, you're making all this money, but everyone's out to get you. Everyone else is like, I'd love to be the king. Everyone says it. I'd love to be as famous as you. You're the most famous man alive. I walk through Beverly Hills and more people come up to me than DiCaprio. They swarm me. They don't swarm the A-listers. They don't swarm the movie stars. They don't care. They all swarm me. I was like, that must be cool. Yeah, but there's a sword above my head. I tell Tristan the story. I explain to him the sword of Damocles. He likes his cigar. Doesn't give a fuck. It's Tristan. I said, fuck him. Then I said, what about the story of Icarus? Remember the man who flew too close to the sun, Tristan? Again, keeps puffing on his cigar. Andrew, fuck these people. And I love Tristan with all my heart. And the best thing about our relationship is that we listen to each other. And I said, if you say fuck him, if you say it's war, it's war. He goes, it's war. So I fuck him, let's run it then. So I was the one saying, let me do a final message and go away. And Tristan was like, no. We've just gotten started. So I do my final message. I explain that I misunderstood. That little clips have been taken out of context. That I'm a nice guy. That I'm just trying to teach the world entrepreneurship. I haven't really done anything wrong. I said women can't park. They can't. Get over it. Final message goes out. 28,000 fan accounts jump on the final message. I'm getting more views than the BBC. And for the first time in history, they banned someone and he got bigger. When they banned Alex Jones, he went away. When they banned Nick Fuentes, he disappeared to the corners of the internet, the fringe corners of the internet. But when they banned me, I got bigger. I didn't get smaller. I got bigger. And you get 3 lives per your question. First, they try and shut you up. Second, they try and put you in jail. Third, they try and kill you. So when I noticed I was getting bigger and my school's gaining more and more and more students, I'm making millions of dollars a day, Jack. I go to sleep and wake up with $2 million new dollars. It was ridiculous. I said to Tristan, something's going to happen. We have to get out of here. The day I said that to him, we were sitting around talking about it, and by coincidence, by providence, I do like to believe that perhaps I live in the Truman Show. A man comes to my house, a Romanian guy. I'm not going to say names. I need to talk to you. I said, brother, I'm busy. Not today. I said, it's important. He's an important man in Romania. So okay, come. Comes, we sit down in my secure room, and he said, you need to buy some land. I'm like, bro, what? He goes, you need to buy some land. He gets out this map, and he goes, there's some land here. It's $7 million, and you should buy it. And I said, why should I buy it? This is 2 hours by dirt bike to reach this land. It's not even near a road. There's no electricity. There's no water. I can't build anything here. I'm going to have to get an ATV and drive all day to even reach this land. It's in the middle of the Carpathians. What do I want to do with this? So my dad was given it after the fall of communism, and he wants to sell it for $7 million. You should buy it. And I said, well, I don't have time. I don't want it. He said, you're going to need the friends. I said, why am I going to need the friends? I have friends in Romania. Without incriminating myself. I have friends. He said, there's a lot of conversation about you in Romania in the power structures right now, and I think you're going to need the friends. And my stupid ass, even though I knew it was a shakedown, thought it was about all the news coverage of my deletion. I was like, well, the BBC is saying I'm a horrible person and I live in Romania and they deleted me from social media. And now my final message has gone out and it's on 28,000 fan accounts and I'm the talk of the town and all this is going on. So of course, some high level Romanians have fucking spoke some shit about me and now they're trying to shake me down. This is all gay. I'm like, bro, I'll let you know. I'll get back to you in a few days. He left and I said to Tristan, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's just go. He goes, where? I said, Dubai. Dubai's a pretty stable place. You don't get shot by accident in Dubai. I was like, Tristan, I know you're saying fuck them. I can feel the heat. Something's going on. Let's just go to Dubai a little while. He goes, fuck it. Let's go to Dubai. I don't give a shit. Let's go. Cool. Big private jet. All the girlfriends on the jet. All the babies. All the baby mamas. 30 women. Fucking me, Tristan. Like a easy jet flight full of chicks. We go to Dubai. Go to some big, beautiful house. Put the clips in of that house with the Bugatti outside. Georgiana's with us. She's driving the Bugatti outside that big, beautiful house in Emirates Hills, $250,000 a week. Chump change. We're rich. 250 grand a week in rent. Shisha, having a great time. Did my first podcast with the Nelt Boys and Bradley Martin in that house. Zuby, I did a podcast with Zuby. And during all these podcasts, I could feel the heat. Rob Moore, my first Rob Moore, when I was in Dubai, I'm the biggest thing in the world. Everyone's saying, can we do a podcast? Can we do a podcast? I'm like, yeah, sure. Everyone's flying to Dubai to talk to me. And I'm saying in all these podcasts, you get 3 lives. And if they ever try and put me in jail for something I didn't do, I hope everyone at home is smart enough to understand it is a setup. I said that verbatim. Please play the clips of me saying that verbatim on repeat in Dubai after all of this has happened. After about a month in Dubai, I'm sitting there and I'm like, Tristan, I still feel uneasy. And he goes, why? We've made it. And I remember him. I remember the gesture. He goes, we've made it, and does this. And he gestures his hand over at a pool behind our $45 million house filled with women. Because we made it, bro. And I was like, 35 years old. I had like $30 million maybe. Now I've got hundreds of millions of dollars, which I've made inside of a single year. You can't just make it like that. Life can't be that easy. It was a fucking few of my friends and me, teaching people it wasn't a scam. The reason it worked is because it worked. If it was a scam, it never would have took off. It took off because we were teaching kids to actually make money. Everyone's making money. I'm the most popular man on the planet. Everyone loves me. I'm top G. I'm famous. I've got hundreds of millions of dollars. I've got this big house in Dubai. I've got beautiful women. I've got kids, everything. I'm like, have I won? She's like, yeah, we won. It's over. We won. Like, it can't be that easy. He goes, I think we won. So we're in Dubai for about 2 or 3 months. I'm doing viral clips. I did the clips with Aiden. Aiden came out there, did the podcast with Aiden where I had the robe on and he's sitting there and I'm doing all these things. We're in Dubai. And then one day we get a phone call from Piers Morgan's team. You're a cultural force and we want to talk to you. I was like, Tristan, see, I told you, here's the setup. I told you they want us to go to England. They're going to arrest us. We're on a terror watch list in England. Tristan's like, stop being a pussy, bro. It's Piers Morgan. He's a bitch. I'm like, no, but if we go to England, they're going to fucking arrest us. He goes, are you scared of Piers Morgan? I'm like, no, fuck Piers. And he goes, okay, but when you go on there, just be a little bit calmer. Because my first Piers Morgan, I didn't beef him. He goes, this is probably a test. They just want to see, like, if you're really a terrorist. Go on there, be a bit calmer, be a bit nicer, explain the truth, explain that you're a nice guy. Don't let anyone think you're a danger. Go on there. And if you watch my first Piers Morgan, I'm a lot calmer. I'm a lot more like, I deliberately decided not to go there and be top G, to be a lot more understandable as a human. So Tristan convinces me that the British state just wants to make sure I'm a sensible, rational actor. So we leave our phones, we leave our laptops, we leave everything sensitive in Dubai. We get on a private jet with a small suitcase and we fly to England. And as the plane was coming down into London Heathrow Airport, I said to Tristan, they're going to arrest us when we land. He goes, we'll see. We land, straight through. Straight through, no problems. Did the podcast with Piers Morgan. I deliberately let him clown on me a little bit. Like, I'm just a guy. I'm just an idiot. I have some ideas, and I believe men are people too, and men should be able to stick up for themselves, and that we live in a gynocracy, and that it's all misandric, and that men are getting destroyed, and women have all the power. But I believe that men are human as well, and that men are allowed rights. And he came at me saying, I'm a misogynist, I'm this, you're a terrible person, you're Hitler, all this shit. And I'm just like, yeah, well, I don't think so. Really nice, really calm.
Is this November, roughly?
This is December of 2022.
Okay.
Just before Christmas. And I do the Piers Morgan show. And the reception is fantastic. All the comments under that show are 100% on my side. Piers Morgan gets completely fucking slated for being a dickhead to me. Everyone loved me. I go to Sloane Street. I buy $300,000 of Christmas presents for all my girlfriends, all the kids, all my baby mamas, whatever. I'm running around with security, just walking into Harrods, buying. I didn't know what the price of fucking anything was, Jack. Money had lost value. Even billionaires don't have 350 million liquid. The fuck? I'm just beep, 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 beep. Bags of shit. 4 security guys carrying all my shit. Beep, beep, beep. Finished in London. I did the Pearl podcast where I sat down with Pearl. I don't know if you ever saw that. And I sat down with all the girls and it was Brittany, what's her name? Can't remember. She's known for being a bit promiscuous and she was on the podcast. I was really nice to her. I offered her a tangerine and it was a nice time. And then I said to Tristan, Tristan, I'm sorry. You're right. Nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. England is supposed to be the ones who put us on the terror watch list. I'm here in England. Nothing's happening. I'm spending all this money. No one gives a shit. I just did Piers Morgan. It's fine. Everything's fine. Maybe it's all wrong. Maybe we should go home. And then Tristan turns around to me. He goes, no, if we go back to Romania, you're going to be fucking panicking and you're going to be worried. And I want you to have a nice free life. So let's go back to Dubai and just chill a little bit longer. All right, cool. And then Tristan goes, but before we go to Dubai, I want to repack my suitcase and we need to drop all these presents off because we have $300,000 of shopping. We have 2 cars of bags. He goes, let's go to Romania, drop the bags off, and then go to Dubai. It's like, good idea. So we land at 9 p.m. in Romania, straight off the plane, no problems. All the bags in the house, all the bags in the car. And we're due to take off at 6 a.m. We go to sleep. And at 4 a.m. that morning is the video the entire world saw when they raided our house again and they dragged us out for human trafficking. They searched the house. They took all the cars and they started going through everything. That's the video everyone saw. That's where we are in the timeline. When they busted that door open, Jack, at 4 a.m. for the second raid after we had landed, when I heard the door go. I reached across and grabbed that famous machete from that machete video. And I picked it up and I stood up in my underwear. And when I saw the door to my bedroom bust off the hinges and police ran in, I felt relieved. I thought it was the Serbs, the Albanians. I have enemies everywhere. Turks. I thought it was the other team. When I saw police and they pointed the gun at me, I was like, oh, thank God. Just you fucking guys. What the fuck do you want? Because I had held a machete. The fucking guy runs up and front kicks me across the fucking room. Thank God his gun didn't go off. They jump all over me. The girl who's in my bed, they jump all over her. And while I'm on the ground, while the guards with the guns, with the fucking SWAT, have got their knees on my back, while I'm on the ground in my fucking bedroom, you know what the first thing they said to me was? Where's the Bugatti? I swear to God. I was like, what the fuck? What? What? This is about my Bugatti? What? Because before that, and please play the clips, I was driving around Romania in my Bugatti. Flew my Bugatti from Dubai to Romania, and I was driving around Romania. But when I flew back to Dubai, because of the heat, I'd flown the car back to Dubai. So the Bugatti wasn't in Romania anymore. So I think they're there for the Bugatti. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Shut up, shut up, shut up. Drag us to the living room, put me in there, put Tristan there, handcuff us, we sit there. Eventually the detective says we're here for human trafficking. I'm like, we've fucking done this already. And if you're here for human trafficking, why is it the girl who was in my bed, you didn't ask if she's okay? You fucking dragged her by her hair out of the bed and forced her onto the ground at gunpoint and asked about my Bugatti. What the fuck's that got to do with anything? We need to take your assets. But I thought we're here for human trafficking. And the girl you find in the house you beat the fuck out of and start asking me about my cars. They start to go through the entire house. This time they take the car keys. All our bank's accounts and all our crypto exchanges have already been deleted. Everything had been deleted back in the UK terror list. Assets. So they take all the cars. This is famous. Find the clips. All the cars on trucks. All the watches they took, which was about 600 grand. I had bought again because I had so much money. And they took them again. Now I remember when they were searching the house, I had a big safe. You know, Jack, I am part black. So sometimes we do silly things like show off. And I had a safe with bulletproof glass at the front. So you could see all my nice things. You could see all the watches, see the piles of cash, see the gold. You could see it all. And the police were like, open the safe. So I don't have to open the safe. They said, you don't have to, but you're going to jail. And we are going to get in. So if it takes us a year to get in, we'll just tell the judge not to let you out of jail because we haven't been in your safe yet. I was like, you fucking cunt. I asked my lawyer. I look at my lawyer's like, that's what they're going to do. So I had to open the safe, bro. What can you do? Open the safe. They got the fucking guns. They robbed me, take all my shit, take all my stuff. It's taking everything. They took the house itself, the deeds for the house, they took that. And during this seizure, I believe it was reported in the media, they took around 15 million American dollars of cars, houses, land, companies I had in Romania, all these things. They seized everything. And after this house search of looking for drugs, looking for steroids, all again, and the whole time I'm saying to the guys, what the fuck is going on? We've already done this, guys. She's a liar. We know she's a liar. We've already done this. We've been through the whole house. What's going on? They said the same thing as last time. You have to go to the decal office and talk to the prosecutor. I'm like, is it the same guy? They're like, you'll see. And at this point, you know, in my optimism, I must be stupid. I'm sitting there going, this must be a mistake. This is just Romania. You know, that prosecutor is probably retired and this file ended up on someone else's desk and they're just doing it all wrong. I'm going to go there and explain that she's a liar and that we were all laughing. We should have bought her handbags and ha ha ha. And last time I went to the decal office, I went home straight away. So surely this is just the same bullshit. So I walk out of my house. They throw me in the police car in front of the media. I remember when they said, it's time to go, we searched the house. I said, can you bring the police car inside the gate and I'll get in there? They're like, no. I was like, see, why? You want to perp walk me in front of the media? And the guy goes, yes. I said, okay, cool, perp walk me. I don't give a fuck, I'm a gangster. So you can see the clip videos. You see me walk out with my hood up.
What media outlets were there? Was it just Gondul?
No, it was Romanian, it was Associated Press, it was everybody. Global. The world was there to watch this happen. Human trafficker, BBC News, who said I was the worst person in the world. All those NGO accounts who had posted about me. See, I told you he's been arrested for human trafficking. The entire fucking internet blows up. They drag me. I go to see the decal prosecutor. I sit there. And this time it's the same guy with about 5 other guys and a couple girls, 10 of them, all standing behind the desk. And I'm sitting in front of them. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they say, by Romanian code in the article, blah, 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 you're under arrest for organized criminal group, head of a mafia gang, witness intimidation, arms trafficking, human trafficking, rape, assault, like 21. I'm like, for fucking what? Well, how do you plead? I'm like, well, I'm not guilty, obviously. This is bullshit. And they're like, what do you have to say about the crime of human trafficking? I'm like, nothing. It's made up. What do you have to say about the crime of assault? I'm like, assault who, bro? What are you talking about? So I got an argument with the DCOT guys. My lawyer says to me, he goes, Andrew, there's no point arguing with them. We have to talk to the judge. There's nothing we can do. Forget about it. Just chill. Just chill. At the end of it, he goes, and we recommend detention. So I was like, so I don't get to go home? Like last time? They're like, no, you're going to jail. And that's the clip where they take me out of the DCOT office and the armed guards walk me into the police car where I say,
the Matrix has attacked me.
There's a clip of me walking and I say, the Matrix has attacked me. And I get taken to prison in between Christmas and New Year. I'm very excited to find out what the fuck I'm in jail for. Now, in retrospect, what's really interesting, and I want everyone to remember this later, after the initial April accusation by girl A, the case stayed open, like I called my lawyer and asked, but there wasn't a single entry in the case file. It was open on his desk without a single entry in the case file. And then warrants for surveillance started being added to the case file to spy on us the exact same day I was deleted. The same day that my phone was wiped. The same day the BBC said I was the worst person in the world. The same day that they said I had to be disappearing from social media. The same day they attacked me before my final message. The exact same day the Romanian prosecutor started requesting warrants from judges. So he got the call. The same day. So I'm in jail, and I'm handed the reason I'm in jail. And it's about this thick in Romania, which I don't fucking speak. And I said, yo, to the prison guard. By Romanian law, you have to tell me in my language. I don't speak Romanian. And the prison guard goes, it's Christmas. We don't have translator. And walked off. So I don't know why I'm in jail.
Do you have your phone?
No, I have no phone. I'm taken to jail, I'm given this pile of papers, and I'm thrown in a cell. Romanian jail is exactly how you expect it to be. If you want to see what the inside of a Romanian jail is like, you can just look up the Russian jails. It's still Soviet. It's very similar. There's no yard time. There's no library. There's no interaction with other prisoners, really. Imagine you go to a bathroom and the door closes and you don't leave. It's about the size of a bathroom. There's cockroaches all over. It's old. It's dirty. The infestation of bugs is fucking vile. Not that I'm squeamish. I'm not a girl. But it's just disgusting. And you're in a bathroom. There's a tiny window about the size of a plate. And there's an artificial light that doesn't turn off. That's Romanian jail. So I'm thrown in this cell. And I'm saying to my lawyer, what the fuck's going on, Alan? And he's like, I have to read the file. My lawyer's like, oh, let me read it. Let me read it. It's this big. And he's flicking through it and going, this is all garbage. What is this? It's garbage. They're saying that 2 girls, your girlfriends, you human trafficked them on TikTok. You made them do TikTok for money. But I can't find any transfers of money. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, so how the fuck do I get out of here? Ask the girls. And the girls, please play the videos, Betty and Yasmina, do videos in my defense.
I've never seen any of them being aggressive or rude.
Ai fost amenințată?
No.
The 2 girls are like, what the fuck? We just have TikTok like every other girl on the planet. He didn't make us do TikTok for money. What are you talking about? They made this up. And they were on my side. This is the thing that's so annoying about my story. Everyone goes, oh yeah, but the girls accused him. No one's ever accused me of anything besides the girl I said hi to twice in my life. Girl A. The girls that they threw me in jail for human trafficking on TikTok were on my side, defending me. And the next 3 months is the story everyone watched of me in jail, the entire media blowing up, insulting me. They took all my money, they thought. They took my ability to speak back, they thought. But of course, I'm smarter than the average bear. and I have money hidden, and I also have 28,000 fan accounts. So there's this media war of the mainstream media saying I'm a human trafficker, and all my fan pages and my Twitter constantly releasing information that I'm not a human trafficker, and the videos of all the girls defending me, the victims in the case. Those girls are now making videos defending me. And this was very frustrating for the authorities in Romania, because normally when you take someone's social media and you take his bank accounts, you throw him in jail, you win the media war. What can he say, right? But not with me. All of a sudden, the videos of the victims are on the internet saying this is a fucking setup, this is corruption. And I've already told the story at length on other podcasts, Patrick Bet David and such, and I encourage people to watch it, of my experience in jail. And I could talk for the next 2 days about all the micro stories that happened while I was in jail. But for continuity, I won't do that.
Before we move on, I do want to ask, were you Greta? Was there anything with Greta Thunberg in the pizza box, or was that just made up?
I think it was all just made up.
Okay.
They knew where I lived. They knew where I lived. I think it was just bad timing. I think that was literally the night before I was arrested. It may have been.
I don't know if you want to answer the suicide letters.
We're going to get into that.
Okay.
So I'm in jail, and I told endless stories of jail. And the basic premise is that Tristan, in his beautiful, truly remarkable forever optimism, thinks it's funny. It's a Matrix attack. It's hilarious. And I've told the stories how he didn't care about jail, didn't give a shit. And I'm trying to get out. Every 30 days, when I first went there, I look at this hellhole, and I had 2 lawyers. I had Alan, who's a guy I've known for a very long time, who most people see, and I had an older lawyer. His name was Gliga, and he had been part of the system for a really long time. And I said to Alan, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And he said, well, don't worry, DCAUT have put you in jail for a day, but after a day, they have to convince a judge to let you go. So I do 1 day in jail, and then we go in front of the judge. And Alan stands up and goes, inside this entire file, which I've been up all night reading, they're accusing Andrew Tate, a man with money, of human trafficking 2 girls on TikTok. They can't prove any money was made on TikTok. They can't prove any transfers went to Andrew from TikTok. And the 2 girls says he didn't do it. So can Andrew go home now? He presents it all to the judge. And the judge is like, yeah, this doesn't really make sense. And she's kind of confused. She's asking lots of questions back in Romanian, like, what do you mean TikTok? Everyone has TikTok. He's like, yeah, exactly. This is stupid. So at the end of all this, she goes, I have to go make my decision. And at the end of it, I said to Alan, what happens if we go to jail? He goes, there's no way you're going to jail. I was like, why not? He goes, I've been doing this 10 years. I've never seen a case this stupid. There's no way you're going to jail. I was like, you sure? But what happens if we do? He goes, you're not going to jail. And you know what was weird? When he started saying that, I just knew I was going to jail. You know when someone's like so sure? I'm like, I just sit there and I was just like, we're going to go, aren't we? We're going to go. And the judge, who looked really understanding and was, listening to us about TikTok, etc., she goes out the back for an hour or so, gets the phone call, which we'll talk about later, comes back out and says, jail, detention, 30 days, and walks straight off. Guys jump on me, handcuffs straight me to jail, throw me back in the fucking cell. And I can't believe it. And I'm saying to Alan, what the fuck is going on? Now he's like, I don't know. I've never seen corruption like this. Your case doesn't make any sense. I don't know where this is coming from. I have to find out where this is coming from. This is corruption. I'm like, I know this is corruption. What the fuck is happening? So my first week in jail, and I've already told a lot of stories, but I just want to tell some important points for the story. My first week in jail, I come to the conclusion that the Romanian system is a fucking setup, and that these clowns, these prosecutors and fucking idiots who know I'm innocent, have set me up to shake me down and steal my money. So I need to get out without using Romanian means. So what do? Well, I do 3 things. The first thing I do is I call the British embassy. I'm British. Second thing I do is I call the American embassy. I'm American. And the third thing I do is I request for my international legal teams to fly in to see me. And things happen in that order. The British embassy sends somebody to come and see me in Romanian jail. And I get taken from my cell and get taken to the room. And the lady from the British embassy's there. And she's like, hello. I'm like, hi. So yeah, I've been set up in Romania. She goes, yeah, a lot of people get arrested around the world. So I just want you to know that consular support is pretty limited, and I have a leaflet for you. It's gov.uk leaflet about what happens when you're arrested abroad, and any information you need is there. I was like, okay, yeah, but this is a corrupt setup, so who do I speak to? She's like, I just have to give you the leaflet. Nice to meet you. I walked off. That was the British consular support. Took me back to my cell with this fucking leaflet. Gov.uk. If you're arrested abroad, what to do? Like this fucking garbage. So it's like, fuck the English. They're useless anyway. No one gives a fuck what England says. Let me wait for the Americans. I'm an American citizen. And I'm there and I'm talking to the prison guards. And the prison guards know I'm innocent. They're like, what are you doing here? Because everyone knows me in Romania. I'm famous. I'm like, bro, you fucking tell me. And they're like, you've upset someone. I'm like, who? They're like, I don't know, but there's no reason for you to be here. This is bullshit. It's Romania. It's bullshit. You upset someone. I'm like, who did I upset? Is it the guy whose land I didn't buy? Like, what's going on? Going through my head. Anyway, they said, an American has never been arrested in Romania before. I was like, really? He goes, yes, actually, we had an American guy here before. He stabbed 2 people and he went home in 3 days back to America. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, Romania's not going to arrest Americans. I was like, so I'm going to go home? They're like, for sure. I said, well, he stabbed 2 people and he got out. I supposedly fucking stole TikTok money, so I'm sure I'm going to get out. So I'm really excited for the American embassy to turn up. American embassy turns up. I walk in there. I'm like, guys, thank fuck. Real humans. No more Romanians. I'm an American. You're a fucking American. This is bullshit. U.S. Constitution. This is fucking garbage. And they're like, yeah, the American government considers Romania to be a real legal system and that we respect the sanctity of the legal system and we believe that you have to go through the legal system. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? This is a setup and a corrupt dump. We all know it's corrupt. On the corruption index, we're at the same level as Zambia. That's not a lie. Look it up. Romania is considered a hybrid state. There's 4 states of a democracy. You have democracy at the top. You have flawed democracy. Then you have hybrid state. Then you have authoritarianism. Hybrid state is the same as Zambia. The Romanian system is considered at Zambian level. And the American government is now telling me that we respect the Romanian judicial system and believe that you have to go through the process. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? How long am I going to be here? He goes, Andrew, I like you. And, I'm just here to do my job and I've been around, but I think you need to prepare for quite a long stay. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean a long stay? I haven't fucking done anything. He goes, yeah, there's nothing really the American government's prepared to do for you. I'm like, what do you mean prepared? What can you do? He goes, well, what we can do and what we're prepared to do, they're different things. And we're not prepared to do much for you right now. So here's a leaflet. So I take the American leaflet about being arrested abroad and the American government leaves me. And I go back to jail. And then I spend my first month in jail. And at the end of the first month, we go to a judge and we ask to leave. And she says, no, you go back to jail. On repeat, I keep going back to jail. No matter what we would say to these judges, keep going back to jail. Now, the third part of this story is, the third thing I said I was going to do is invite my international legal team. I have King's Counsel lawyers from London, the best of the fucking best, old school, real G's. I was like, maybe you know what? The embassy sold me out. Maybe the British lawyers. My British lawyers are due to come see me. 7 p.m. on a Tuesday, I'm sitting in jail. I really, for everyone watching this at home, if you want to experience this, put your phone away, give your phone to someone else, and go sit in the bathroom for an hour. I did 4 months. Try an hour. Just sit there. Sitting there, staring at the fucking clock, like fucking sit there. 7 p.m. comes, they don't turn up. My lawyers don't turn up. What the fuck, my lawyers don't turn up? I got on the phone, what the fuck's going on? Eventually I hear, when my British lawyers landed in Bucharest, someone from the British embassy was waiting for them and said, these boys are done. Don't waste your time. You're not going to go see these boys. This is a national security issue. Go home. Why the fuck is the British government sending people from the British embassy in Romania to wait for my British lawyers and telling them that I'm a national security threat and I can't see my fucking lawyer? What the fuck is that? They told my lawyers to fuck off out of Romania and that we're a national security issue and that we're toast. We're wrapped up. We're done. Don't waste your fucking time. That's why my lawyers didn't come see me, because the British government blocked it. After 4 months, when I'd really lost all hope, we went in front of a judge. And the judge asked some questions to our lawyer, and our lawyer explained how it's bullshit as usual. And this judge is one of the best in Romania, because a member of her family, I believe, I don't know exactly, and I don't want to talk about anyone else's personal business. There was actually 3 judges on the panel. One of these judges, I can't remember who, had a member of their family who did 8 years for a political case. He was innocent and did a political case. I think it was a cousin or something. So she became a judge to restore integrity to the Romanian system. And they've tried to promote her to the European court many times and she won't go because it's a promotion to get rid of her. Anyway, she asked some questions, whatever. This is at 10 a.m. And we went back to jail. And normally when you're in jail, you go to court, you go back to jail, and you wait for the decision over the phone. They don't tell you in court. And within 40 minutes, your lawyer calls you in your jail and says, you're staying in jail. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., no answer. Midday, no answer. 1 p.m., no answer. 2 p.m., no answer. 3 p.m., no answer. I start calling my lawyer. What are they saying? They're not telling us. Well, that's weird. He goes, yeah, maybe she has other work. 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m., they announce on the news I'm going home. I call my lawyer. Is it fucking true? Is it true? The whole jail started screaming. Frati means brother. Frati Tate, Frati Tate. The whole jail screaming for me and Tristan. Frati Tate, you go home. Frati Tate, you're the best, you're the best. We were just like, fuck it, I couldn't fucking believe it. We had a little party in our cell. We drank our last water. We used our last mouthwash. We had a little fucking party of all the things we had rationed for the month. I couldn't fucking believe it. I'm sitting there, I'm like, it's over. Like fucking 4 months. This fucking liar, these fucking prosecutors who know I'm innocent, all my stolen stuff, it's fucking finally fucking over. I'm in my cell and I'm just like, I can't even say it was the happiest day of my life. It was kind of like, imagine you get hit by a car. You know in those movies when people get hit by a car and then they pop up and they're a ghost? You know? That's what it felt like. It's like, poof, like what the fuck? So I get to leave this fucking room? I've been in this fucking room for 4 months? I get to leave this room and go home? Is my house still there? Like, it's like, what the fuck? And they said we're going to leave. And my lawyer now believes that she made the announcement late at night on purpose to avoid the government from stopping it or blocking it. Everyone had gone home from their civil service offices. The president had gone home. So she delayed it to actually let us out. Because if she would have announced at 10 a.m., the president would have gone on the phone to the Brits and they would have fucking stopped it somehow. Thank fucking God, I haven't done anything. So God bless that judge, whoever it was. One of
So
the
they
three.
cycle the judges every month and you happen to get that one that month?
It's a lottery.
Right. Okay.
It's a judge lottery. And often you have 3 or 4 judges on a panel. It was 3 judges this time. I don't know which one it was. And this is the video that everyone saw of me walking out the jail with a long beard. And I walk out and I look up to the sky. You know, when I was in jail, after the US government sold me out and left me there, and I told the guards, I just saw the American embassy. They didn't give a shit. They're like, that can't be true. I was like, they didn't give a shit. He goes, we've arrested and had about 20 or 30 Americans in jail overnight. No one stays here. The guy who stabbed people did 3 days at most to go home. We've never seen this. I was like, so why does that happen to me? And they looked sad. They looked somber. They were like, I don't know who you've upset, but this is bad. I'm like, why is it bad? He goes, this is Romania, bro. People have been in jail for 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, no trial. I'm like, you fucking serious? He goes, yeah, by Romanian law, they can hold you for up to 50% of the total maximum sentence of a crime that you're suspected of. And because I had 21 crimes and they all had such long sentences, they could have held me for 50 years without trial. And without trial. Because I had a 100-year maximum sentence if I'm convicted. And I was like, all the guards had convinced me that my life was over. I had come to the point, Jack, where I'd look around the little room and just imagine growing old in the room. Like what? And I mean, before my school, I had 20 or 30 $million, but now I had hundreds of millions. And before my school, I wasn't really that famous, and now I got famous. So please imagine, I went from nice, comfortable life, fringe internet celebrity, to globally famous and properly rich for like 5 months at most. And now I'm in this room forever. That's the end of the story. I just fucking got started. I just enjoyed my life for the first time. And I used to literally look around that room, imagine growing old in that room, just thinking, what the fuck can I do? And I'd ask the guards so many questions, and they're like, bro, I wish I could help you, but you've already asked me this. They can hold you for 50% of the maximum sentence. Your paperwork says a maximum of 111 years. They can keep you here for 50 years. I don't know why the American government has helped you. You have to call the embassy again. No American stays in Romanian jail. No American. Every American gets out. You have to call them again. And I'm calling the embassy 3 times a day, and they're just ignoring my calls now at this point. They're like, fuck you. They just wouldn't answer me. I thought it was done. So when I got out, when I look up to the sky, like you can see on that video, I didn't think I'd ever see the sky again. I don't have yard time. I don't have exercise time. I was in a bathroom. I didn't see the sky for 4 months. And I looked up at the sky and I just thanked God. I really thought I'd never see the sky again. And then I drove home. And when I got home, my emotion changed. Because when I got back home, I remembered that none of this should have fucking happened to me. And that's when I got mad. When I got home, I got really angry. And that's when I made that video, the famous video of me walking up and down, smoking the cigar, because I had learned this habit in jail of pacing. And it took me 7 months to break. For the next 7 months, I was pacing all the time. My girlfriends would be like, Andrew, sit down. But I'd just pace like a fucking caged dog back and forth. For 4 months, I just paced up and down. So I'm in my living room, I'm just pacing up and down. I'm starting to all go through my head. Wait a fucking second. I'm glad to be out. Yes, I get to see the sky. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I should have never fucking been there. I started a school teaching fucking econ. I haven't done anything. This bitch fucking lied. Where's my fucking stuff? I haven't been to the UK. I'm not a terrorist. I haven't fucking blown anything up. Those prosecutors know they're fucking lying. Why is my school fucked? Because when I was in jail, not only did they hit me, they hit the fucking school. Because all of my problems, Jack, all of this is about the fucking school. I had my domain name deleted. Yeah, they deleted my Stripe. Yes, they banned us on Discord. Fine. I'm an entrepreneurial man. I got the best people on the planet. I go to the war room. We build our own payment processor. We buy our own bank in Lithuania. We build our own software. Fuck Discord, custom school. We build everything ourselves. We launch it all on our domain, hustlesuniversity.ai. The British government writes to the Antigans who own the .ai domain name and say it's a website for terrorism. They delete our fucking domain. Name someone else on the planet who has their domain wiped. You type the domain in, seized, terror. The fuck? Had to get a new domain name, relaunched the whole fucking school. I just got out of jail, I got PTSD, I'm still fucking laying in bed looking for cockroaches all the fucking time. And my whole fucking school's fucked. But they've taken all my fucking money. Yeah, I have money hidden, but I need to fucking fight legal bills, legal fees, kids need to eat. So I need to get to school, I want money. What else am I gonna do? I'm locked in my fucking house. And also, I'm like, fuck these people. Because the school's how I defend myself, because that's the 28,000 Clippers. Let's get the fucking school back online. So I go to house arrest, I get fucking mad, and I'm like, okay, a few things have to happen. Firstly, I'm not a vengeful man, but I do believe in justice. So you know what the first thing I'm gonna do is? I'm gonna sue Girl A. We're gonna come back to that later. Hopefully that'll be televised, because it's coming shortly. Unless they fucking kill me first, which is why I'm getting the messages I'm getting now, which is why we're doing this video. Because Girl A is being sued. So we have the lawsuit against Girl A in Florida, where she's from. No Romanian courts, an American courts. Not perfect, but it's the best chance we got. So we got the lawsuit against Girl A in Florida. First thing I do is I fucking sue her. She lied. She knows she lied. The Romanian state is corrupt. They stole my fucking stuff. They destroyed my fucking business. They destroyed my mental health. They put me in a fucking cell. They've ruined my reputation. They kept me from my fucking kids. Sue her. Why not? It's the first thing we do. Second thing we do is start trying to get the school back online. And you know what? In my ignorance, even still at this point, I believe it's almost the end of the story. I'm walking up and down pacing, and they're like, you're on house arrest. I'm like, They're just trying to get the public ready for my release. Soften it little by little, not just to let me 100% free. They're afraid I'm going to fly away out of Romania or something. Couple months of house arrest, right? No big deal. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. So I'm locked in my house month on month, on month, on month. And this is when my brother and I are doing the emergency meeting podcast. Our first emergency meeting we did after jail had 500,000 live viewers. 500,000 live. And after I did that podcast, my first emergency meeting, there were 500,000 live viewers, and we talked about what they did to us in jail. We said the Romanian state are full of shit and they're corrupt, and it's a fucking lie. My lawyer rushed to my house in the middle of the night. Comes to my house. He goes, Andrew. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? He goes, Andrew, listen to me. You have to listen to me. I'm like, what? He goes, nobody in history has ever spoken against the Romanian state and survived. You cannot call judges corrupt. You cannot call the system corrupt. You have to say, I respect the system. I look forward to a good decision in the end. I'll participate with the system. We have to let everyone forget about this. And when everyone forgets, they're going to drop their corrupt case. It's going to go away. If you embarrass the Romanian state, they're going to fucking bury you. The last guy who tried this in 1997 got 35 years in Rahova, the worst jail in Europe. You're never going to survive it. And I said to Alan, I was like, but I look fucking guilty. They fucking slandered me everywhere. I look fucking guilty. If I shut up, I look guilty. I can't just be quiet. He goes, you're going to make my job impossible, Andrew, if you talk. You have to stop doing these emergency meetings. You have to be quiet. Me, him, and Tristan sat there and I said, Alan, if I shut up and they lock me up, I'm going to torture myself back in that room thinking I had a chance to tell the truth about how corrupt this is. But if I tell the truth how corrupt it is and they lock me up, I'll know I went down swinging. Look, I just lost a fight. I'm not saying I always win, but I don't quit. And I said, Alan, your job's going to be hard because fuck them. They fucking ruined my life. I can't sleep. That's fine. Let's put in the videos of all the tweets I was making. I had fucking nightmares. I couldn't lay in a bed without looking for fucking cockroaches. I couldn't have a blanket on me. I was fucked. If therapy was a real thing, I would have needed it. I was a fucking mess. And I was like, no, it's fucking war. It's fucking war. We're doing it. So we started doing our emergency podcasts, emergency meeting. Romania's corrupt. This is a setup. Here's the victim saying that we haven't done anything wrong. The fucking prosecutor's a piece of shit. He's a scumbag. Fuck this dump. Fuck the cops. Fuck you. And just tell them the truth. Unfazed. Last bullet.
They looked at us and thought they have too much power, too much influence. Let's hit them with the most powerful weapon we have. Let's cancel them. Let's close all their accounts. Let's make them vanish. Let's destroy their influence. That's the biggest bullet they have. Imagine shooting a man with your last bullet and he stands there unfazed.
Fuck you. Going down swinging.
I want to point out, too, that I'm sure you thought about while you were in jail, maybe we should stop this whole affiliate campaign. Maybe the whole thing is they want me to go away, stop posting on social media.
Of course.
But you kept it running.
I thought that before jail. When I did my final message, I decided to give up. Enough is enough. But then Tristan was like, no, fuck that. And you know one thing about Tristan and I? We ride into battle together. If Tristan and I are in a nightclub and he says, this guy's annoying me, I'm going to hit him. I say, don't hit him. And then he hits him. Then I'm hitting him. That's how it goes. Tristan said, let's war. So I wanted to quit back when I made my final message. It was called The Final Message. That was the end. I had enough money. That was the end of it all. But after they put me through jail and all these things, and because my reputation was in the fucking gutter when I got out of jail, I was like, no, my best way to fight back is to tell the truth on emergency meeting podcasts and use my affiliate army to spread the truth. I'm not lying to anybody. Tell everyone what fucking happened. UK state was behind all this fucking shit anyway. Which is interesting because when I'm on house arrest, the BBC start calling me. They call Alan first. Alan goes, the BBC want an interview. I'm like, nah, not doing it. He goes, no, they really want an interview. Maybe you should talk to her. It's like, who is it? Lucy. Hello? Hi, my name's Lucy Williams. I'm like, hi, Lucy, nice to meet you. Hi, so we want to do an interview. I'm like, I don't think interviews are the right thing for me to do this time. Oh, no, actually, I think you'd be interested in this one. I said, why? The Romanian state is really well known to be corrupt, and there's a lot of conversations about the corruption in the Romanian state, and we've looked up Chedo. And it turns out that the Romanian government pays hundreds of millions of dollars a year in fines to the European Union for how unsafe and unfair their jails are, because you're actually held in worse conditions than farm animals are held. They can't hold a pig in the place they held you by law, a pig that gets slaughtered. And what happens to people in Romanian jails is disgusting. So we want to talk about the corruption of the Romanian state and how bad the jails are. I'm like, you do? She goes, of course. You haven't been convicted, have you? I'm like, no, I haven't. She goes, exactly. And it should be innocent until proven guilty. I'm like, you're right, Lucy. You should be that. She goes, well, so I'm hoping we can fly over. I'm like, come over. Sure. Yeah, great. So Tristan, the BBC are going to run a point about how the corrupt these fucking dickhead Romanians are, how we were held worse than farm animals, and how it's all a fucking setup. Tristan's like, that's good. I'm like, yeah, it is fucking good. Finally, we can fix the fucking narrative. Hi, Lucy. Nice to meet you. Oh, nice to meet you. Hi. Everyone sits down today. So are you a racist? No.
Let's start with the allegations. Have you anybody?
Absolutely not.
Have you trafficked anybody?
Absolutely not.
Exploited any women?
Absolutely not.
This girl said you're a rapist. And instantly I was like, they set me up. They set me up. They told me it was going to be an interview about something completely else. And they know I have mental issues. And they know I'm not sleeping. And they know I'm locked in my fucking house. And they fucking hijinxed me. And they've set me up to just make me fuck up on camera and make me look guilty. But you know, in my genius, I filmed the whole thing myself just in case. Just in case. And that's when I said to her, I said, Lucy, put this clip in. Lucy, don't come here like you have authority over me. Don't ask the questions to hear the Gestapo. You don't have a badge. You're in my home. And we're two people here.
Please him and wanting him to be happy, that I was just kind of, yeah, okay, do whatever you want.
And what has she accused me of a crime, this imaginary Sophie?
She's making the point that there is
Has she accused me of a crime?
emotional or psychological manipulation.
I asked you a question and I've allowed you into my house.
I'm asking you a question.
Correct, but you're not the boss here because I've allowed you into my house
I'm asking you the question.
correctly, and I'm telling you.
You get to decide the answer.
No, we're equal here. I've allowed you into my house. You don't come here with a position of authority. I'm doing you the favor as legacy media, giving you relevance by speaking to you.
You're a person, I'm a person. You're not better than me. You're not above me. You can't talk to me from a position of authority. If you ask me questions, I'll ask you whatever I want in my house. And I watched her piss her little pants. So I made a fool of Lucy. Now, I was only at a fraction of my powers. I have to be honest, they fucking got me, bro. My head was all over the place. I was at a fraction of my powers because even when I'm on house arrest, my lawyers are constantly calling me saying they can recall you to jail anytime. Stop doing emergency meetings. They can recall you to jail. Stop having your girlfriend over. Stop seeing your kid. If they know you're seeing your kid, that just all this trying to ruin my, I'm like, fucking just put me back in jail then. But being told you might go back is like worse than going back. Like you're just sitting there every time a car drives down the road, you're like, is that the cops? Like you're fucked, right? And this fucking Lucy turns up with this hijinks, this fucking trick, but it doesn't work. And I released a whole uncut video. She looks like a fool. Even at a fraction of my powers, I destroyed her, which really pissed off the British government. They got really mad because after the Lucy BBC interaction, while I'm locked in my house, I start getting letters trying to convince me to kill myself. It started off as DMs on Twitter from fake accounts. And then it would grow into emails. And then I started getting handwritten letters written by psychologists. And I don't know they were psychologists, but I assume they had to have been because I've never read something so enthralling. I was never going to kill myself, but it was enthralling to read. It was interesting to read. And it was trying to convince me that my life was effectively over and that if I martyr myself, I get to go out as a hero because of what the state has done to me, as opposed to being ground down by the state in a war I can't win to the point where I wish I did it. And that by the time I eventually kill myself, no one's going to care. So do it while people care. And they mentioned my kids, who no one knows the names of. They mentioned the names of the mothers of my kids. And these fake accounts on Twitter who pose to be haters, who know everything about the case, everything about my children, everything about the mothers of my children. They're fully fed the case file. They have the case file. They have all this information that are coming from these letters, trying to convince me to kill myself. I'm getting a letter every day saying, Andrew, you're going to kill yourself effectively. You're going to do it in the end anyway. Don't do it when no one cares. Go out like a hero. You've always been a hero. You can stay a hero for eternity. Just kill yourself. And then my girlfriends start getting messages. My girlfriends and the mothers of my kids get messages. Leave Andrew. He's only going to drag your life down. You can use the government to get money from him. Go and report him for abuse. Accuse him of abuse. Sue him for money. You can get money from him. Why are you with this scumbag? Why are you staying beside him? His life is over. He's never going to be able to give you a good life. The only chance of a good life is to take his money and go find another man. My main chicks are getting these messages. The mothers of my kids are getting these messages, convincing them. And I know my women love me, but women are susceptible to pressure and psyops. They cry, and they come to me crying. Do you think you will get out of this? Like, I'm like, don't fucking start breaking now. That's what they want. They want you to give up hope so that you leave. Because they realize they couldn't get to me, so they start going for all the women around me. TikTok accounts of my girlfriend and making fun of her, She's a whore. She's a whore. One day she'll leave Andrew. Everywhere. And no matter how many times they get deleted, new ones pop up. New ones pop up. That was all funded by an NGO. And we're going to come back to this NGO. There's an NGO linked to Girl A, which we're going to come back to later. Ninja.
What was the word in the letter that you interested or repeated?
It was different on different podcasts, but I'm going to find one and find you an exact example of it so you can place it here, because every time they'd send me a suicide letter, next time I did an emergency meeting, I would specifically say a word from the letter, an unusual word, so they knew I read it and they knew I was talking to them saying no. I'd say it directly before or after I told them how I was unfucking phased.
Because I tell you something, when your progeny, when your grandchildren come up to you and say, why are we brokies, Dad? If you're looking for a group of men who are on the journey to become the kind of men we talk about, and also men who are already at the pinnacle, the highest echelons of masculine accountability and capability, that's what the war room is. All of these systems which are designed to create good citizens of a respectable society and preserve sanctimonium amongst the populace are actually corrupted and gay.
But I'm not going to lie, they got to the women around me. Women around me were more suicidal than I was because they're just under so much pressure. Even like, imagine you got my daughter, you're the mother of my kid, and you're living a normal life. You don't have social media. You're a good woman. You don't go clubs. You don't go parties. You don't have social media. You don't show off. You're a nice, normal woman. And you're getting letters with pictures of, with the name of your child and saying your child's life's over and all this shit. Like, what the fuck? This is the British government, by the way, the good guys. This is the good guys doing this, trying to convince women to kill. They didn't tell the women to kill themselves. Trying to convince the women to leave me and take my money because I'm going to kill myself. This is the good guys, the good UK state. The people who didn't give a fuck about the grooming gangs, these fucking scumbags. So it was all from the government. We're going to get there in the end. That all started after I destroyed the BBC because I beat them in their narrative war. And the entire world is just a battle for influence. That's all it is. And I had more influence than the BBC. You can't be one man with 28,000 fan pages with more influence than the BBC, causing young men to stick up for themselves in a state which is trying to extract resource from the young men and ruin their lives. The average man's life in England sucks. It's shit. They pay taxes. They're losing their country. They can't fucking do anything, go anywhere. They just build the roads, and then they're told they have to go die in addition Ukraine. It's over. Me telling them to stand up for themselves was considered an act of resistance against the enslavement. So UK government's like, oh, just convince them to kill themselves. And in my darkest hours, I'd lay in bed. I'd fuck my girlfriend and then she'd fall asleep and I'd just lay there and I'd be tossing and turning and I'd be fucking staring at the wall and night sweats and I'd just be a fucking mess. I'd get up and start pacing around my bedroom like a fucking psycho, just pacing up and down my bedroom, and I'd end up picking up one of the notes and reading the letter, just pacing up and down. And it's my stubbornness who was like, whoever wrote this is going to have to explain to their boss why I didn't do it. So, like, they never got close to convincing me because I'm so stubborn, Jack. No matter how suicidal I would have ever felt, I knew my life annoyed them. And that's when I'd read it, and then I'd be up all night, 48 hours, no sleep. And then I'd go into the garden, and there's a video of me on a Bugatti scooter with Tristan in the garden doing circles. Please play the video. It was after that night. I was like, they're checking my social media to see, because I got a new letter today that I haven't posted in 12 hours. And I just had the Romanian news is saying they might have to re-imprison me. And all this pressure's on me, all this heat's on me, and the BBC saying, and the BBC saying bad things, and I'm feeling the heat. They're going to wait and see what the next thing I post is. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm on a scooter with Tristan. Fuck you. Because I'm stubborn. Now we're making this video. I'll be honest, it was getting to me. But I don't believe in mercy. I don't believe my enemies are ever going to have mercy, so I don't ask for it. My dad didn't raise me that way. I wasn't raised to believe that if you're weak enough, people will feel sorry for you. I don't believe that's how the life works. I don't think if you go in front of your enemies and go, I'm a little bitch, please, that they're going to do anything other than destroy you. They're going to destroy you anyway.
That's when they double down, usually.
Of course. I'm like, fucking do it.
VC. Yeah. He's not involved in like one thing. He's involved in like 4,700 things. He's doing something different. Every time I talk to him, he has like 4 new businesses that he's fully financing. I would say like my top 5 or 6 guys are all involved in like 20 different things at least.
Did they ever try to poach you just as like an executive assistant or something like that?
Yeah, actually, I have. Funny enough, some clients of mine now have reached out to me in the past and been like, I love your stuff, or like their EAs are like, I'm moving on. Is there any way you can step in? Which I hate, because I'm like, oh gosh, I hate being called the assistant to these people, but like, call it as you see it. Sometimes I have to step in and be a damn assistant for these people. So yeah, I'm not surprised when people ask. I think now what's becoming very interesting is because of the social media part of it, now we're being approached on an influencer side, which is a lot more fun and a lot more like level-headed conversation instead of, hey, I need you to come pick up my dry cleaning because you're so good at it. Can you please help? Yeah, so I think that's something that's been super, super exciting is like as this is growing on a social front, now we're getting the opportunity to like actually invest and do like sweat equity in a lot of these companies. And this is where I think life is going to become very exciting for us over the next couple of years. But again, all thanks to freaking social media.
Yeah, you said that you were picking up dry cleaning for people at one point. What's the scrappiest thing you've done to fulfill a client's request?
I mean, this weekend, did you see what I did this weekend?
What'd you do this weekend?
Oh my God, I had to wear a Patriots costume.
That
I
was
literally
real?
dressed up like George Washington this weekend. I was like, I didn't even know what it was when I opened it. Yes, everybody was so upset about that, by the way.
Someone paid you to do that?
Oh, they didn't even pay me. My clients, here's the misconception too, is everybody's like, poor Liv, she gets bullied online, she better make a lot of money. I love my clients. Like I go to my clients' kids' birthday parties. We go for lunch all the time. They support me. I support them. Like we are literally intertwined like family. And I'm not their assistant. At the end of the day, I help them get some of the toughest things done and I help make their lives easier. And they appreciate me so much for that. So because of that, like we have these amazing relationships. So when a client of mine that I'm very close with calls and is like, let me send you a costume for the Super Bowl, like, hell yeah, that's hilarious. So we made a couple of videos about it where it seemed like I was a little distraught over it and the audience got very upset. But yeah, that actually was ridiculous. But I didn't even end up going to the Super Bowl this year. So I didn't actually wear it to the game. But I was out walking the streets of San Francisco dressed up like George Washington this weekend.
That's fascinating.
Yep. Yeah.
What's the furthest someone has traveled for a short amount of time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. I love those. I love my romantics that fly like just quickly over to Europe to have lunch. Those happen quite a bit. I did have a client fly to like St. Lucia private, which is quite a big flight coming in from New York. And yeah, that cost a ton of money. Flew private, beautiful plane. And they were there for like 12 hours just to like have date night, eat. They booked the hotel, didn't even stay in it, came back. So that stuff does happen quite
How much was that
frequently.
flight?
Oh, God. I think that was like almost $200,000 there and back.
Huh.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a case of like a 30-minute thing or like an hour thing?
I mean, yes, but those ones are more business.
Right.
There's not, I wish I had this like grand Hallmark story of these cute little dates in down to like the UK or something. But most of my guys that do the quick flights are actually just like in and out. I've flown some people to China and they literally have gone in and done like a talk for 20 minutes and then come right back, or like an hour and come right back, which is brutal. But it's just the way those like high level execs have to move and they're on the go 24/7. So for them, it's just another day.
You've gone viral for being the middle woman between a spoiled rich kid and their billionaire parents. What's the craziest conversation you've had on behalf of a wife, a child, or a husband?
I mean, I had one that was very bizarre not too long ago. I'm gonna actually say his name because I detest this client. He never was a client. I had a guy named Fernando reach out, and this man was like a full-blown scammer. And we have like, it's very tough to trick us, I would say, in the sense where like, if you don't send the money, you're not going to get the booking. So the whole scheme just didn't make any sense to me. But this guy spent 2 weeks of my time building out this $1 million itinerary. It was so, he knew what he was talking about. Like he knew all the details inside the room and not stuff that you could just come up with, like very specific details about the concierge and stuff. So clearly he had, done some very, very in-depth research, and he sent me his passports. He sent me like all of these things. We did a background check. Everything like totally checked out. Was this like dude from Miami. And then like a week before the trip, he was like, book a non-refundable and I'm going to pay you tomorrow, and sent a fake wire. So we're like, okay, well, we're not going to book it for you because you sent a fake wire. And this guy, throughout the 2-week period of him booking this trip, he put me on the phone with him, his new lover, and his ex-husband.
Was this new lover a guy?
Yes. Yes. So 3 men, and they were like the most flamboyant gay guys. And managing that relationship was the most confused I've ever been in my entire life. Like, he said he was booking the trip for him and his ex, but then also I got on the phone with his new lover who was going to take the spot. They're like, book the plane under him, but I want you to create fake plane tickets to give to him. And I'm like, even if you paid our retainer and were a part of our actual like Concierge Plus program, I still wouldn't have probably done that for you.
Were they
It
like
was
asking about
crazy.
each other?
Yeah, it was insane. No, it was crazy.
Give me an
They-
example.
He was like, well, tell me what Fernando's doing. Like, I feel like he's being weird about this trip. Can you just like call him and maybe record it and then like let me know? I'm like, hell no, I can't do that. That's insane. And then the new lover would get on. They all had really thick accents too, which just, it was like a freaking soap opera. It was honestly, I think I was more entertained and just curious. So I kept letting it go on because it was nuts who does that to somebody. But yeah, that was one of the more recent ones that was just like outrageous. But stuff happens all the time. I do have to manage a lot of like kid to adult relationships. I do have a couple parents that are terrified of their kids. So,
Really? Who's the
yes.
youngest kid that is a client of yours?
22.
22?
Yeah. I think the youngest kid that's like self-sustained is 26. But the youngest kid I have that's technically on retainer is 22, but her parents pay for everything.
So you're facilitating like a conversation between that kid and their parents?
A lot of these kids have allowances. So, sometimes they go over and they need to, have me ask for more money. There's a million different scenarios that pop up, but most of the time it is like, hey, I want to spend 100K. My parents told me I could spend 50. Can you just like charge the card? I'm like, no, I can't. So gotta call mom. Give me a sec.
Have they ever complained to you that their allowance isn't enough or anything like that?
Yeah. Lots of stuff like that. And there's a lot of hate on the kids out there, but no fault to the parents or the kids. I think everybody's trying to manage wealth and figure out relationships with each generation, and it gets messy. So I never blame people. It's just, I feel very confident in helping those relationships get better sometimes. Sounds weird, but being a family therapist in that scenario, mom and daughter might literally claw each other's eyes out if they have that conversation. So if I'm able to step in and be the middleman and like save a relationship and make them care about each other a little bit more, by all means, no problem stepping in.
Have you ever worked with a billionaire kid whose parents cut them off?
I have a friend who's gone through that scenario. Funny enough, actually, he became, I think he's booked a couple of things through me, but he's not like a consistent client. But yeah, his parents cut him off young. And then he actually created I think his company's worth like 50 million plus now. So, I think sometimes kids are born with this like innate hunger to go get shit done when their parents accomplish it. And I think there's a rage of like, I need to do this because you cut me off. So sometimes cutting kids off is the best thing to do at a certain point.
What's the most a mistake has cost you in this business?
Okay, yeah. So I've lost little hunks of money here and there just because of sometimes a client will want something and then they won't want it the next day, like the non-refundable thing we talked about. And if it's somebody that spends millions and millions of dollars with me, sometimes it's worth just taking the loss and moving on. This weekend, oh my gosh, and I tell you, like, I am going to sleep for 3 weeks after this is over, was hell on earth. Basically what happened is we had a giant client worth $2 billion come in, corporate client, and they wanted a suite for the Super Bowl. I was like, done, great, done deal. I'm in Asia, so the time differences are off. And at some point we signed the paperwork, we paid over the money, and we got the suite. And then they just like morning of decided somebody else in the company wanted to use a different broker. They paid like $200,000 extra than what they would have paid with us. And I don't know who it was that sold it to them, but that's a $650,000 loss. So for us, the last week has just been like so frustrating because you make so much money doing these amazing deals. Your clients are all happy. And then one bad deal with a potential new client just like wipes out everything. So that was like extremely taxing and nerve wracking for us. Now we did figure it out last minute. We did get the suite sold. The person got an amazing deal on it. So it's okay. But stuff like this happens in the business all the time, especially when you're pre-anticipating needs. When I've got a bunch of Dallas Cowboys fans and like they might be going to the Super Bowl next year, I might need to put money down to get a suite because if I don't, 50 other brokers could swipe in. And then now, even if it's not about making money, it's just about those pieces of inventory being available for my clients when they need them. And there's nothing you can do when it's all sold out. So, trying to manage expectations and reality and what's left and balance it all on top of massive price tags has been, it's been hell for big event weekends, but we're doing it.
Just to give people context on like how you guys make money. So if I wanted to, use your service, how much would it cost me monthly?
So it starts at $100,000 a year.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like our base. Some people pay more, some people pay less, depending on how big your family is and how much you travel.
So if I'm spending $5 million on the Super Bowl, like that would theoretically come out of your guys' pocket if I decided not to pay and something happened there.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. There's a prime example of exactly what just happened, right? You're like, yeah, I want it. It's on us to make sure that you are ready to go and you've signed the contracts and everything's like set in stone. We actually just being transparent, because like I want all business owners to know that everybody makes mistakes regardless of how perfect Super Bowl looked online. We made a mistake. We signed a contract before the client had paid. That's a like level 1 basic business mistake. So those things happen. If it were a client of ours, usually they would have to make the decision. We don't usually put money out, especially that amount of money out on the line, but stuff like that does happen sometimes.
How many clients do you guys have roughly?
In that program, we keep it under 25.
So I saw in your last interview, one of your goals was to become a millionaire. Did that status happen recently?
It should very soon, very, very soon. But depends on what you count a millionaire. Like if $1 million has come in and out of my bank account, yes, we're there. I want $1 million cash just sitting there. I would be very, very happy. So I'm really, really trying to do that over the next couple months. So we're almost there, working on it.
How did you go from 0 to 1 million followers on Instagram in less than a year?
It actually happened overnight. It was the craziest thing. For me, I am so business oriented. So my blinders have just been up. I'm like, how can we get new leads? My background's in marketing. So of course, one of the many avenues I was trying was social media. So, everything started to really, anybody knows that when you're in sales too, it takes usually 6 to 9 months to get like the flywheel start rolling. So I had all these different things I was doing. They're all starting to pick up. And then at some point overnight, the social media stuff hit. And when it hit, it did not like slow roll 1,000. It was like 50,000 overnight. It was 150,000 like 2 weeks later. It was 300,000 a month later. And within 4 months, it was like 700,000 followers, which changed everything, like completely changed everything. I mean, this morning we had a press release about our TV show coming out. Like we have books, we have podcasts, we have all these crazy things. And I have not been paying attention because I'm focused on the business. I'm like, how can we make the most money? How can I make sure our clients are happy all the time? I've got my hands and feet in like 40 different buckets and I'm not even paying attention. And let alone, I keep waking up and having these conversations and I'm like, holy shit, we have almost 2 million followers across platforms. Like it's crazy, but it really did happen overnight.
I guess in hindsight, if you were to do it again, like what would be some of the golden nuggets you would give yourself and like some of the strategies you use to actually get that 1 million followers?
100%. I think a lot of people do ask me that question. One thing that I would without a doubt would do again is following, I think, the top people in different industries and translating it to your own kind of voice is so important. And that could make no sense to some people, but let's say like I'm in travel, but I take a look at the top people in, this is going to sound crazy, but like, what are the girls that are popping off on OnlyFans doing online right now? What are the girls that are popping off in art? What are the girls that are popping off in design? There's so many different verticals you can look at. So look at all of them and just find consistencies in their pieces of content that are going viral and change it into your own. So for me, I just noticed that like there were a ton of people doing like different sales pitches online and different videos of them like interacting with other people, but not in a podcast sense, just kind of more like a traditional humanity conversational sense. And I'm like, all right, let's give this a go. We've got something crazy that we deal with every day. Let's see if we can translate this into viral content and like immediately. But that was like a couple weeks of sitting down and thinking, how are these things going to play out? And it was actually Troy. We were sitting and we got off a call one day. And it was like the craziest call. This woman just screeched at us. She wasn't even a client at the time either. And he put down the phone. He's like, oh my God, you got to record one of these one time. And I was like, all right, yeah, there it is. This is what I've been seeing. Here is this idea. Let's try and execute. And then game over. So I would probably try and do a very similar thing and just really keep pushing the content. Because like, as you know, the more you push out, the more likely you're going to go viral one of those times. And if you're only doing it once a week versus 7 times a day, your odds are much less.
100%. What was the conversation about that you guys got yelled at over?
I think she was yelling at us about getting either a meal for her dog or a bathtub big enough for her dog. Was one of the two things. But she was not a client yet. So for me, that is one thing I am very particular on. Yes, online, it looks like we take a lot of shit from our clients, we're very particular about how our clients speak to us. Some of them I know well enough where like when they get heated, I can handle it. But if you're new and we haven't even gone through the interview process and you're already telling me to F off, our relationship's going to end very, very quickly.
What's the most
Yeah.
particular thing you've seen someone do for their pet?
I would say like lived in areas is a very interesting one. So
What's
like
that?
some lived in areas. So if somebody wants a dog bed for their dog, they want it to feel lived in for their pet. So like they might have another pet come and sit in it for a bit or have it like sprayed down a little bit. Also a very common request for humans is like a lived in area. So some people don't like the squeaky cleanness of walking into a new space. So they want it sprayed with some scents. They want people to move around, maybe have a candle lit. Sometimes people just want their friends in there before they arrive because they want it to feel like lived in. But I've heard it for a pet as well. So
you've had rich people ask you to get another dog to sit in the bed before their dog sits in the bed. How do you go about that?
that's not that difficult. Actually, I mean, that's pretty similar. Like you just get a dog to the hotel and then most of the time the concierge teams will just handle it.
Huh.
Yeah, I actually don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting sometimes with that kind of stuff. Again, that's why I like working with my Holy Trinity or somebody that's a 5-star and beyond, because when something crazy or just any particular request comes in, they will execute it most of the time. I just need to be making sure that it happens.
And then they also request that the hotel staff like sleeps in their bed before them, or
No,
like how does
that I
that?
would. That's an extreme. Lived in the most I've had is like have our friends like there and like make sure they've sat on the couches and are like hanging out before I get there. I want it to feel like I'm walking into my party. I don't want to have like just like this kind of empty hotel
That's common.
space. Yeah, I've had that a few times.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah, it feels more homey. in a
More
way.
homey. I'm like, I actually wouldn't mind walking into like all my best friends. hanging
Right.
out, right?
Have you ever seen someone get divorced after a luxury vacation?
Not right after. I've had a couple divorce parties for sure, where people are like, let me take a trip with my boys or my girls post divorce to kind of celebrate. But I wouldn't say I've had anybody call me like on the trip and say they're getting fully divorced. I've definitely, actually, that's a lie. That's such a lie. I have had people call, but haven't gone through with it. I've definitely had a couple late night calls of people calling and they're just, a little drunk and they've they've been in a fight with their husband or wife all night long. And they're just like, I'm so over this. I'm done. We're getting divorced, but it usually doesn't happen.
Have you ever been blamed for a fight between a couple?
I don't think so. Yeah, I've definitely been blamed. I mean, I am the scapegoat for anything that goes wrong, right? So if the car is not there on time, just because, vacations is something that people don't understand. Vacations, have you ever taken a trip where something hasn't gone wrong? Just anything.
No, I don't
No,
think so.
never. Never in my life. And it would be like astonishing if something did happen like that. Every trip, things are going to go wrong. And when you expect perfection, that's going to just, the lashback's going to come on me. So the problem is a lot of these people are so particular that, when the driver's 30 seconds late, they're already furious. So then by the time something actually wrong happens, I am chopped liver.
Right.
I'm screwed. So, it's really on me to make sure that everything goes right. And that does cause tension in relationships, of course. So, I've maybe caused fights in that sense where just because I am the problem, it causes husband and wife to be like, oh, this sucks. We're having a bad time. It's your fault. It's your fault. No, it's Liv's fault. But I will always take the blame. So it's usually fine. We've had a couple of clients that, go on vacations, whether they're celebrities, athletes, high net worth people, they go on vacations with people that are maybe not their significant other. And, it's very important that the hotel don't contact them afterwards. So it's very important to them that they don't get any marketing, they don't get any emails, they don't get any phone calls. Sometimes what happens to us is people try and kind of snipe our business, and without knowing it, they deeply offend the client. So, we go to this new hotel that we started booking with, and a client arrives, and they know this client spends like millions and millions on travel. So, of course, they'll go into the room, they'll remove all of our amenities and then put their own, or take credit for whatever beautiful gift we've put in the room and be like, oh, great to meet you. We set this all up. Try and get their information, and then they'll send the client marketing after the trip, which, first off, if you come for me like that, we will never do business with you again. So it's a horrible idea. Please don't do it. And secondly, you can deeply wreck your relationship with the client without even knowing it, because sometimes they really don't want anybody to know there for, a million different reasons. That could be one of them. But
I'm a bit confused. So you're saying someone will try to snipe your client. How do they know that they're there in the first place?
So a lot of times we do use aliases, but sometimes clients don't mind when you use their real name. And the alias game is very particular too. Like when you book a reservation, you need to use your real name 99% of the time. It's not like you or I could just, use Camera Jeans as our alias and show up and they're going to give us the room. They're not going to do that. But for like a super high-end A-list celebrity, the hotel and I will have a conversation prior, letting them know in like over the phone or in person, this is the alias we're going to be using, but then it'll be put in the system as the alias so that everybody in the hotel doesn't know that that person's there. But most scenarios are not like that. That's like a 1 to 2% of the time situation. Other than that, most multimillionaires or large spenders are going to use their real name. And the hotels, when a penthouse gets booked, you bet you they're looking you up. You spent $75,000 for the weekend, they're going to Google you. And when they find out you travel like that, they're going to try and get involved as quickly as possible. And the smart ones understand that that's not where the relationship lies. You guys are going to make 10 times your money if you make sure that Troy and I are very well taken care of, because we're going to want to continue booking with you. We should be treated as the client in that scenario, and we should foster a really good relationship. When you try and go for the client, it's like, now I can't trust you. Now you've taken away our amenities. Now you've actually made the client less taken care of without even realizing it. And now the relationship's wrecked and we're going to book elsewhere. It's a finicky game. Like, it's kind of like playing checkers everywhere. There's so many different avenues and relationships.
So essentially
that
the
have to be
hotels
managed.
themselves are trying to steal your clients in a way.
Sometimes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The smart ones don't, but
Is it
there's a
individuals or
couple.
is it the company itself?
Yeah, it's usually like private access sometimes. So it's like a specific group of concierge. Sometimes at like gambling hotels and just at any really, really nice hotel. There's a group in charge of getting the top elite clients in the world to book with the hotel. And those little guys will come for us.
That totally makes sense in
Yep.
Vegas. Yeah.
It's a game. It's all a game. Yeah.
What destinations look great on Instagram but are pretty disappointing in real life?
I would say Bali is like my top one for that question. I think people should know that by this point as well. There's so much all over the world. It's like we're putting all these spots on Instagram, making them look like these spectacular destinations, and then they're becoming the most tourist trappy, awful places. Yeah, Bali is definitely one. I think if you do it right and you stay at the right spots and you even, I would say, do a villa down there, then you're a little bit safer. But like, we've had nightmares where people are like, oh, Liv, I really, really want to go there. I saw this girl on Instagram. Yes, even the billionaires are following people on Instagram. I am a prime example of that. And they'll get there and they're like, there's bugs everywhere. We can't get good food. We got food poisoning. I'm like, yeah, because you went off resort and you tried to get a photo swinging in a giant chair with the red dress and now you're covered in bugs. That's what I told you was going to happen.
That's really funny. Is there any other overrated places to travel to in general?
I think some places are starting to get just a little bit overbooked. I think in general, I wouldn't say specifics, but when you're traveling during Christmas and like the holiday season, very, very difficult. I think anywhere, even the greatest spots just get overwhelmed. New Year's can be really, really tough. Trying to do a romantic getaway on Valentine's Day sometimes is tough. Watch Spring Break. We have a ton of clients. We actually, funny enough, we gave away a vacation for a family in need a couple weeks ago. And we're like, any dates you want, let us know. And of course, she picks Spring Break. And we're like, oh, come on. Could have been such a different vacation, but it's okay. She wanted to go that week. And you just be cognizant of most popular times to travel are, because one, you're going to lose a lot of money trying to book during those weeks. And it's just like everywhere. It's just so packed. It's so packed. Unless you're doing like, again, St. Bart's is a great example. Super busy over New Year's. But if you're on a private boat, you can kind of escape the madness. So there's ways to get around it, but you just have to kind of be aware of like when people are traveling and why. So always like think, if I want to go here, who else is going to go here this time of year?
That makes sense. Like Disneyland right as school gets out or something like that.
A little scary. Yeah.
Yeah. What are 5 places the ultra wealthy go to that most people don't know about?
I wouldn't say there's a lot of spots that like there's these like secret hidden islands or anything. I think one couple spots that have been pretty popular is like private islands in the Caribbean have been really popular. I mean, BVI's has been going nuts for us. Richard Branson's private island is a big one that people love to rent. Caribbean in general, I think there's so much. So, okay, question for you. When I say Caribbean, where do you think?
Jamaica.
Right. Okay. So people usually have like they go Bahamas, they go Jamaica, and then some people are confused and think that Mexico is a part of that for some reason and are like Cancun. So that's usually the response I get. And there's so much beauty down in the Caribbean that people miss out. I mean, like St. Lucia, spectacular spot. So beautiful, amazing nature. When I talk about the BVI is one of my favorite spots down there that I love to send people. It is for a particular type of clientele. This is not like the most bougie spot I could send you. But if you love, like, let's say you're a big exec and you need a week off, like, I'm going to throw my phone in the water. I need time with my wife. Like, let's go away. Ariel Island, the BVIs, it's like all these little huts on a private island. You boat over. They have a wild zebra farm from circus. There's like circus rescued zebras that they've brought onto the island. They have miniature horses running around everywhere. You can ride horses all along the shore and like do these amazing activities. All the food is grown on the island, which is insane. And then you eat at a beautiful long dining table with all the other guests. And it is the most like homegrown, beautiful experience that I have yet to experience in a lot of places. So that's one of those places that like most people would never even hear about an experiance like that. But
So
I
it's in the
love to
British
send.
Virgin Islands? What's
Yes,
it called?
yeah, British Virgin Islands.
Yeah. And then how much does that cost?
I think starting there is like 6,000 for a couple days type situation. It's not super cheap, but it's not anything outrageous. And they have different options too. You can get like the incredible huts, or you can get one of, I think they have a couple that are like shared units as well on property. But there's so many cool experiences out there. I mean, St. Thomas, St. Lucia, Antigua, amazing spots with so many different experiences. So I always tell people to explore the Caribbean more because there is a lot of those spots I would say are bigger clientele are going there on vacation.
How about Asia? Where do people go to?
Oh my gosh, we just got back from Asia. It is one of my favorite places on earth. I'd say Bangkok is really, really popular, mostly for business reasons. I would say for anybody looking for a incredible cultural experience, like Vietnam and Bangkok are two of my favorite places on
You guys
earth.
were in Bangkok? You didn't go to the islands?
No, we did. We did, where were we?
Phuket,
Phuket.
Koh Samui?
Koh Samui, but we didn't do Phuket. No.
I didn't really see any luxury things in Bangkok. I mean, there's really nice hotels there for sure.
I would probably say exactly that. You're not going to get these like extreme luxury experiences necessarily, but they do have they have some incredible Michelin star restaurants. I mean, we had dinner at a spot that was like 60 floors up in the air overlooking Bangkok, just incredible food. And honestly, I would recommend the Ritz-Carlton in Bangkok. That was like, it's brand new, fully decked out. One of the most beautiful architecturally and just art-wise, like so meticulous. The welcome that we got when we came in our suite, like I've never stayed anywhere like that in my life. That was probably one of the nicest stays that I've ever done. And we've seen some really nice places. Yeah, so I would just recommend that for people looking for a cultural experience while still maintaining like that level of luxury. But I also wouldn't bump around. I do have some clients though that have a lot of money and like they love the 3-star moments. Like if they go to Asia, they want to stay in like, the Holiday Inn of Asia and just experience the culture and lifestyle out there in a different way. But I have other people that are like, I don't want to feel like I'm outside of America, but I want to eat really good food and like maybe go to a market or two during the day. And then those people obviously we're going to keep in their bubble
Right.
at the Ritz. But yeah, looks different.
Bangkok's
for everybody.
definitely one of my favorites. I would say it's in my top
Place,
3.
Right?
I haven't been too many places, but I would say Tokyo, Bangkok, and South Africa, like Cape Town,
Right.
are my 3.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 countries?
Oh, you know what's so funny, actually? I hate to say this, but I think, and not that it's a country or even a province or anything, but Muskoka in Canada is probably one of my favorite places on earth. It's just not anywhere like, I don't know. I feel like Americans sometimes, unless you go to like a Boston cottage or something, they don't really get that like Canadian cottage experience anywhere. And so many of my clients have never experienced it. I have a ton of really wealthy Canadian clients that have cottages down there. And like sending some of my clients there for the first time, they're so questioning it, but like I get you a beautiful boat on your massive mansion on the lake with like your jet skis, and I get you a fishing class, and like everybody goes out as a family. You have fires and like do the s'mores thing, and you drink Coors Light all weekend. Like they love that trip, and I think that's like personally one of my favorite places on earth to be is Muskoka, Canada.
That's fascinating. I've never been up to Canada, actually.
Oh my God, you have to go.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I mean, other than that, I do love Miami and I love New York. There's some spots like I also love Nashville. America's very new to me, so I'm very like enamored by all the things going on over
I
here.
really like
but
Nashville too. I think it's severely
Nashville's
underrated.
sick. It's so much fun. I love it. Definitely not like the bougiest of places to go, but if you want to strap on a pair of cowboy boots and have some beers, it is so much fun.
What's the hardest restaurant to book? What's the hardest restaurant to book a reservation for?
I wouldn't say there's one that's the hardest. I think New York is very frustrating. We have amazing people down there, and something that I like to make very like transparently with something I like to be very transparent about with my clients and everybody is that we don't do everything. So like we do everything, but I don't personally do everything. So like I don't pretend to be a specialist at reservations in Bangkok. I don't pretend like I have, the numbers of every single restaurateur or every single tour guide or every single hotelier in my back pocket. But there are people in every part of the world that are so specialized at it. And it's my job to be their best friend. So I've got, 50 to 100 of these wicked rock star people that are in the hospitality space throughout the world.
Right.
And they handle these things for me, and I pay them great money to do so. So, New York, I would say in America is probably one of the toughest spots, not only because everybody wants to go to the best restaurants in New York all the time, but because they're changing. Like Miami's got our big spots. We've got Carbone, we got Poppy. We've got a lot of really great 5-star restaurants down there, but they don't change. They kind of maintain for like 3 or 4 years, then we get a new one, and then that becomes a hard spot, and those are still hard ones. New York, there is a new spot popping up every 6 weeks that I need to know about. And sometimes the public doesn't, by the time it's on Instagram, it's been open for like 3 months and none of us have known about it. So I have to know about it far before my clients are like, hey, why haven't I gotten into this new restaurant yet? So yeah, I would just say like New York in general is just filled with tough spots. But we always
Is the
make it
Ralph
happen.
Lauren restaurant hard? The Polo one?
It is if it's same day, I would say. But if you give me like 2 or 3 days, usually it's fine. But it's very tough because sometimes my clients are like, shoot, I have a client that I have to entertain at 8 p.m. tonight at 6:30. Can you make it happen? I'm like, oh God, probably not. But we can maybe get you in at 10 that night. So it's usually doable. We just have to be a little bit flexible.
What's the place that you need the most time to book ahead, like for a restaurant?
I would say Monkey, Corner Store. No, Corner Store's not that bad nowadays, but it's still difficult. Polo's actually been really tough. I think the whole Kith Padel members club situation is going to be a bit of a interesting one.
What's this?
So there's a new members club in New York that's in collaboration with Kith. And there's going to be a lot of people that are not members that are going to want to get in for one-off. So we're going to have to try and navigate those relationships to kind of figure that out for clients. Honestly, I don't have a problem ever making reservations, I would say. But sometimes, yeah, Miami's amazing to make reservations at, and LA's amazing to make reservations at. Toronto's super easy to make reservations at. I don't think of any of our major cities. Yeah, everything's pretty easy except New York is the only place I get a hard time. And I swear, sometimes it's because they just want to be New York about it. Like New York loves being New York and keeping us all out of the know. So yeah, I would say like the top like 5 spots in New York give me a tough time, but we do get it done.
To put you to the test, if you're interested, I think the hardest restaurant that I know about in LA, the one that's hard for me to get into, is Nobu Malibu. Do you think you'd be able to call someone and get a reservation for Nobu Malibu right now?
All right, let me just text him and see if I can get you a reservation really quick.
Okay, so I'll see if you get the reservation. That'd be pretty impressive. What kinds of clients have the most refined taste? Like if you had to pick a certain type of client you work with that they have like particular taste.
The most refined clients, I would say the high-level influencer with money can be very, not necessarily refined. I would say those are my most particular. Refined, like 3rd generation wealthy, 3rd or 4th, very, very particular. And they have exquisite taste, like just the best in everything luxury, from watches to bags that like you didn't even know Hermes created. Like there is things that those people have seen and experienced that like sometimes I'm in charge of making a lot of those things happen sometimes, and like I'm even blown away. So yeah, there's refined is a beautiful word for it. They really understand class and taste and what the next big thing in society is going to be. Funny enough, like I think a lot of those people are driving our tastes long before we even know it. It's kind of like how European fashion hits America, usually like a year or 2 after. I think those people are starting to carve out those experiences, and by the time like it starts to trickle down, it's been like 2 years later and they're already on to the next thing.
What's a luxury brand that only the ultra wealthy know about?
I mean, nowadays, it's just so sad that there's like not a luxury brand that's like secret anymore. I mean, there's a couple like one-offs, I would say. There's a lot of brands that are kind of like hand-woven made fresh from Colombia type situation. Like we send a lot of clients on private shopping trips over in different areas. Colombia, why I mentioned, is one of them. They have spectacular quality of clothing, and like those kinds of experiences over brands, I would say, are starting to become more important to those people, because every influencer and her best friend is waiting at Hermes to get a Birkin bag
So
nowadays.
it's private designers, basically?
I would say that's where we're headed, and where I've seen a lot of things happen over the last like 2 years is the private designer or getting clothes made directly from, for them. Now there is like the couture world that is much different. There's experiences where like a Valentino or a Dolce, a client would go in and have something that's really custom made for them or is kind of part of an older collection that they get to pull out of the archives. Those experiences are insane, but like the stats on that, most of our clients can't even afford to do some of that stuff. Like we do also, when I say most of our clients, we have two sides of the business is something that I think is important I mention. So we do have our Concierge Plus program, and those are our big spenders, our people that we take care of. All the stuff you see on Instagram, those are coming from those types of clients. And they're usually spending at least like $5 million a year on travel. And then we have a totally separate sector of the business of people that are just using us for hotels. Now, we do not handle any like 4-star, 3-star reservations, but we do handle like, if you want to take your family to the Four Seasons and it's $100K, we will save you a great deal of money on that trip. But we don't handle any concierge stuff for that. So we'll just help you get like the one-off booking. And like a lot of those clients, they're fantastic, but they can't afford to do these types of experiences. Oh, shoot. Sorry, he's calling. Hey, how are you? Good. I need a reservation at Malibu, Nobu today. What time you want to go?
8?
8 p.m. tonight. 2 people. Not at the bar. I'll get it done. Okay, thank you. Bye. Think about it. Let me know in a couple minutes.
Do you think your network is your net worth? And do the ultra rich actually care about their network?
Yes. 2 sides to that, actually. I personally believe that as you grow your network, you are going to become so wealthy in knowledge and in social wellness and all these things. Like you will become such a bigger, better, brighter person as your network grows. So you need to be so cautious about who you're surrounding yourself with, because there are rich people out there that are just horrible human beings. And there are wealthy people and poor people out there that are awesome, awesome people. So I think there's a balance of course, surround yourself with wealth and make sure that you're making the right moves, because they have the knowledge to get you in the right rooms and in the right places and conversations. But also make sure that your cup is filled in all of those avenues that like the human soul needs. So I think as long as you're paying attention to that, then your network really, really will become your net worth in multiple avenues, not just in wealth.
Liv, you're 25. You're connected with billionaires, celebrities, professional athletes. What's your one piece of networking advice?
I would say you need to get outside. As a 25-year-old, I grew up in a world of emerging social media, and that comes with a lot of confusion on the networking front. I luckily have been a very outgoing person since I was very little, so I think it comes easier to me, but I see a lot of young people struggle with networking. It's a huge deal and a big mental struggle for them. You need to go out and get in rooms that, the people that you need to be around are in. And that, of course, sounds so much easier coming out of my mouth than it actually is, but when I started this job, I used to go solicit at hotels. I was sitting at the one hotel, I was sitting at Faye, I was sitting at Satai and paying for drinks there. And, I didn't have a ton of money to be affording, going out for dinner there all the time. But like, you got to start the conversation somewhere with yourself and go do those things. So like, and sometimes it doesn't even seem like it might make sense, but it does. So like when I was in marketing, one of the big things I did was I didn't go to marketing conferences, because like, why the hell would I go to marketing conferences to go meet other marketers who are trying to get the same clientele that I am? So what I did instead was I went to Medi-Spa conventions. Those are 4,000 potential clients out there. And I would go to, fashion and apparel conventions in Toronto and get into rooms where like people that are potentially going to give me money are going to be. And I think that like at the end of the day, whether it's a smart decision or a bad decision, getting out there and getting off your darn phone, stop cold DMing people. It's going to work 1 out of 1,000 times. Get out and go talk to people. Because even if it's a bad conversation or a failed conversation, like you're one more failure closer to success. And I think that is just like the best piece of advice I can give somebody about network. Just get up and do it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like as someone with a social media following like yourself, there's kind of two ways in which you meet people. Or three, it's like people reaching out to you on socials, you reaching out to them on socials, or you meeting them in person and telling them what you do. Which one do you find actually makes the best connections? Would you say it's like getting in person and saying, I do this?
Yes. I think people would disagree with me, but I mean, even right now, we could talk all day over the phone or over DM, and like, I'm never going to know much about you. I think I'm a big vibe person. And going back to my clients in that context, a lot of people with a lot of money are huge about auras and experiences and vibes in layman's terms.
Right.
So getting out and speaking to more and more people, even if it's not the right people that you need to be connecting with, is like learning how to project yourself properly so that people feel you as a close, like safe space. For me, my entire life, I've always been a person that really, really wants every conversation to end with like the other person having warm and fuzzies. And that's like a kindergarten saying, but I always want everybody that I come in contact with to feel really good. And I've practiced that for years. And I think now it helps me close those networking moments and, you know, turn those random people into clients because people feel really safe around me. But it takes time and it takes practice to do those things. And they can only happen when you do them in person.
Right. I kind of agree with this. Like if I'm a little short on podcast guest, I'll just kind of go to some bars, hang out with some people and see where the night takes me. And
who knows?
That's actually like what led to this conversation was Chris was like, hey, Jack, do you want to grab dinner, grab a drink? And we were just talking. And then he showed me your videos. And that was kind of how we met in a sense. Cause it's like, I hadn't seen your stuff before because I'm not traveling a lot right now, I guess. But he was like, you have to have this girl on. And then he connected me to some other rich guy when we were out to dinner. And I was like, this is crazy. Just go outside and you start to meet people.
It kind of is. It sounds so simple. Like go outside. It's not necessarily easy, but go outside.
Right. I think you can get a lot more bang for your buck, especially if you have any sort of following or any sort of value to provide to other people just by like telling them that you do that. And
of course,
it's like, do you know anyone that needs help with this thing? So if you wanted to get a billionaire client today, like what place are you going to?
Ooh, like if I would love, that is a great, like, have you ever seen it? The only episode I saw was with Grant Cardone where it's like 90 Days to Riches or something, right?
Undercover billionaire.
Oh my gosh. I am so down to be on that show one day. I got to become a billionaire first. But yeah, if I had like, I think I would need more than 24 hours to be honest. I probably, depends on, am I allowed to cheat using my current network or do I have to go like cold? Okay, if I'm allowed to cheat, I could probably do it in under like 5 hours.
Right. So you would meet up with someone, have them introduce you to someone?
Yeah, I would go. There's like 3 people that I would go have lunch with this afternoon. I would probably like coffee, lunch, take them out for dinner. And then between those 3, I guarantee I would at least be able to close one. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. But I'm not a big, like, I hate hitting up my clients being like, hey, do you have friends? I want my work to speak for itself. And funny enough, like one of my newer clients was out at a party and he was, I guess, just talking about me openly and was like, this damn girl, I've been on her wait list. I can't get a call back. And sometimes it is like, we'll look through the list and sometimes it just doesn't seem like the right fit off the bat, which is not always, you know, the fairest system, but we have a really long wait list and we try and get to everybody as fast as we can. And I guess he was sitting on the wait list for a while and was talking about us at this like White House event. And one of my clients was standing beside him and was like, oh my God, no, Livy? Yeah, you're good. And just phone call. I was like, hey, what's up? And he's like, you got to take care of this guy. Done, closed, easy.
Like, what are the places the ultra wealthy make sure that they're at throughout the year? Like, what are the major events? Super Bowl is one of them. What else is it?
Again, one of those questions that's like, I wish I could say all the billionaires of the world are here at one time. I mean,
did you send anyone to Davos?
Yeah, of course. That's a great one that I always forget to mention. Arguably the most expensive stays, usually throughout the year. And like, that is a group of incredible human beings. But again, there's so many different avenues that different billionaires are involved in, right? Like we've got some people that are involved in sports. And yes, they are at every F1, they're at every Super Bowl. Every year they're at F1, they're at, you know, all the golf events, PGA and Live. Like they're at everything, touching every avenue of the sports world. But then I've got my like tech guys that are really involved in AI and all they do is hang out in San Francisco and occasionally go on like a crazy bender to Colombia once a year. And that's like all they do. And they might pop into Davos if they're invited to speak.
How do you get invited to Davos?
Well, if you're presenting.
Right. So everyone presents that goes there?
So it's with Davos, if like you're a panel speaker, for example, or something like that, then you'd be invited.
Yeah, it was so funny seeing like all the people that were invited there. I was like, these are the people that are winning right now.
Those are like, I feel like those are the more quieter luxury guys, I would say. Like most people they're not walking down the street getting tackled, but they're usually worth way more than anyone would ever expect. And they're just chilling in their like Old Navy, walking around. They're the best.
What's a cheap vacation that can make you feel ultra rich?
The travel hack questions. I wish I had like a million answers for this question, because I feel like travel is such a blessing that so many people don't get to experience. And I mean, that's an initiative that our company takes so seriously. Like we're trying to send hopefully 6 to 7 families throughout the year that have never vacationed before on a really beautiful vacation. I would say for families that are trying to get a beautiful vacation at not an insane price point, try and stay close. If you can go to Miami in the less busy seasons, sometimes summertime Miami, you can stay at some nice spots for a little bit cheaper.
I guess international. Like assume your ticket's free. Like what are kind of the cheap places that are nice?
Colombia.
Colombia?
Yeah, absolutely. Colombia is one of my favorite spots. We actually have a lot of our team members are out in Colombia. Amazing spot, amazing food. Mexico, a little bit cheaper sometimes. I mean, Cancun, definitely cheaper. Definitely not Europe right now whatsoever. Definitely more expensive over there. Parts of Asia, but again, once you get further, sometimes it gets cheaper, but your price tag to get there is going to be, especially if you're flying first class, but even an economy ticket to get over there is going to be a couple $1,000s nowadays. So that can be tough. But yeah, I say try and stay closer. And unfortunately, if you're Canadian, you can't really go anywhere because our dollar is so down bad right now. So it's very, very difficult to travel. But Colombia is actually, I would say Colombia is my answer for that one. It's got
interesting.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff going on and very, very cheap. I mean, you can get breakfast for like $2 there.
And it's a fairly quick flight if you're on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was like an hour and a half for us from Miami.
Where do rich people go in airports? Are there any secret lounges, anything like that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of, funny enough, I think I've flown every type of airline and every type of class at this point. As we talked about earlier, there is now black lane service to, get right on the plane in certain scenarios, but they do have specific lounges with cutoff areas. Yes. And a lot of times, like they have business class lounges and then they have first class lounges. And for the longest time, when I finally started flying business class, I actually didn't know that first class lounges existed. I think most people don't. And then when you get to the first class lounge, you're like, oh my gosh, this exists as well. And then they do at certain larger airports, such as like LAX and like MIA and stuff, they do have private rooms for people as well. But again, a lot of people that need that kind of privacy, there are not airports everywhere that have those. And they have to fly private at that point. Usually, if you're really like, you cannot be around other people, there's only access to so many rooms in so many places. So it's usually best for them to fly private if they have the money.
What's the most expensive ticket you've bought for a flight?
Yeah, Emirates first class is probably the most expensive. New York to Dubai. And yes, $25,000, $30,000 ticket.
What does that get you? I flew business there. I didn't fly the first.
Business is great. I'm flying business to Dubai in like a week and a half. I'm super excited about it. Love their business class, but their first class, same as like Singapore, it's basically private. Like it's insane. Other than the airport, you have a full bed. You have unlimited caviar, unlimited Dom Perignon, like anything you want is there for you. That is like the best you can get next to flying private. And I think flying private across seas is insanely expensive. Like you're looking at $500,000 to go on like a comfortable plane. And you need a long haul as well. So it's going to be really expensive. So if you're like, screw that, I'm not wasting the money on that, I'm going to fly first class, you're still going to spend for a family of 4, $150,000 plus. And, but you're going to have the private experience. Like you got a bed, you can sleep. And all you're going to do when you're flying to a place like that is hopefully sleep and get a good rest before the morning. So I think they're just amazing. There's some really cool first class airlines opening up over the next couple of years too. I don't know if you've seen those.
No.
Yeah, there's a couple. It's kind of like the yachting thing this year. So this year, I'm not sure if you know, the Four Seasons is launching their mega yacht, and the Ritz-Carlton just launched their yacht, which we just had the privilege of going on a couple weeks ago. And Amman is also launching their super yacht. So
how does that work? You book it for a
It's
week?
a cruise.
Okay.
It's a cruise. I don't want to get those confused because when you book a private yacht, especially a yacht of that size, you are spending $1 million for the week minimum. absolute minimum. Now, these experiences, we got to stay in like the presidential on the Ritz yacht. It's amazing. But it's not a private yacht experience. You don't have your chef on call whenever you want. You have butler service, and they'll bring you like food from the kitchen and whatever else you need. Like they literally made me my protein shake with my protein powder every day at like 4 p.m. They're on it, but it's an extremely different scenario. That being said, that trip is like $150K. The private yacht is $1 million to $1.5 million. So the price point is so different. I think it's a safe way to see different parts of the world that you love. But again, it's just such a different experience. So I think a lot of people get confused when they're like, oh, it's a private yachting experience, but it's still a cruise.
What are the rest of the sins?
First one was consumption. Second one has to be conformity. Conformity is, to some extent, can be a good thing. I know it has a negative connotation. Normally when people say you're conforming, they're trying to say that you're fake. And I myself have definitely had a lot of conversations. I've made many videos about this concept. But to some extent, humans are social creatures and you need unification, especially if you want to work towards a common goal. So that sense of conformity is good. But there's a lot of nuance to it, because what happens is, like we were talking about earlier, when you start to see something online and you like that and it validates how you feel, all of a sudden, slowly but surely, and this happens very subconsciously, you start to sort of fall into that mold, that archetype. And it's so slow, but it's so it's perpetual in the way that it comes. You can't really escape it. You don't know that it's happening. All of a sudden, 2 years ago, you were moderate on your political views, and now all of a sudden you are like, let's just say hardcore liberal. Whatever ideology you prescribe to doesn't matter to me, but a lot of times what happens is people just gradually fall more and more into a certain belief system, because the way that humans are designed is you are seeking validation, because from a evolutionary standpoint, a sort of tribal aspect, if you didn't fit in with the community that you were born into, I mean, you're committing not just social suicide, but you could be committing physical suicide, in the sense that you're going to be an outcast and maybe they kick you out. So you have to conform to some extent. And then what happens is people are scared to deviate from the mean of whatever group of people they believe in. And so this is what real brainwashing is you're so attached to a certain ideology, belief, group of people, that deviation, even to the smallest degree, is almost suicide, or you're cutting yourself out from that group. And this is so scary to your brain, your mind, that even if you deep down do think elsewise, you're going to reject that and you're going to suppress that, because your brain's saying, I can't afford to lose my entire community and by proxy, my psychological well-being. And so this is dangerous because, you're just sort of fitting in there, but all of a sudden you're not your truest self. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the work of Carl Jung. I love a lot of his work, but I think his best work is talking about when people suppress their true identity, this inability to confront who they truly are will very slowly and subtly dictate the decisions that they make in their life, because their life is ran by their subconscious mind. So if you can't sort of face these shadows or these aspects of yourself that you're suppressing for the sake of conformity, all of a sudden, the next 40 years of your life are going to look a lot different, and they're going to look more for the intentions of the group than the intentions of yourself. And there are fewer and fewer modern day avant-gardes. You have less people standing out. You have less people that are being I wouldn't say the truest version of yourself, but I would say adjacent to their spirituality and what they align with, in the absence of peer opinions, in the absence of validation or the need to fit in. And long term, if we take an entire generation that feels this way, and I would argue that our generation is suffering from this idea of conformity more than these philosophers that lived hundreds of years ago talked about, simply because of social media, all of a sudden, if 20, 30 years down the line, our society is going to be almost robotic. It's going to be depressing in the sense that everything will be shallow. it's almost like LinkedIn. Everyone's fake. Everyone knows everyone's fake, but you got to do it because it's the norm. Imagine if we apply that to society on a grander scale. And as time goes on, this compounds more. And as time goes on, people stay online more. And all of a sudden, these issues snowball, and it's potentially greater than we might be able to fix in our one lifetime.
Can you go through the rest of the sins and then we'll break down one more? I'm curious what you have.
Entitlement is a big one. That's one that I've suffered with a lot of my life, feeling like you are owed something simply by existing. The woman in the red dress specifically, though, it's somebody asking you, hey, do you want to go do that thing? Not necessarily the thing itself. Hey, do you want to go out to the bar tonight? Well, it's not that you do or don't want to go to the bar. It's that your friend asked you and now you somehow feel obligated, or you want to be a good friend, or X, Y, and Z. And it's just the path of least resistance is to say yes to that. So the woman in the red dress, but more specifically, the person that's sort of aiming you towards it. I would say victim mentality is another huge one with our generation. As I was saying before, everyone can find their community on the internet that is going to validate how they feel, and then they think that they are right. Okay, so this is another big one, and it kind of goes a little bit with entitlement: resentment. Resentment is so easy. There's a Carl Jung quote where, and I'm sort of paraphrasing this here, but he says, people are suffering the effects of their unlived lives. They become bitter, critical towards not the world, but themselves because, for example, they wanted to be an author. They went to school, got an English degree, got a literature degree, and then they see someone else has a published work, and they read that and they're like, really? Like, that's it? But really, they never chased their dream. They never did anything. So they become resentful because they see someone like me on the internet, someone like you, and we're just two guys that are curious about the world, interested in certain things. And we decided to take the leap of faith and put ourselves out there and, went through all the failures and got to a certain point. And then they see us and they're like, oh, this is just a regular video of Jack talking to some guy. If I was in Jack's position, I would be doing the same thing. I would be doing potentially better than him. So they build up resentment. And once again, social media amplifies this because it doesn't matter what you're interested in. Somebody is out there doing it. And this is a very easy frame of mind to fall into.
Right.
The last deadly sin, and the one that gets the most overlooked, is passivity. When you are going with the flow that the system designed for you. I'll give you an easy example. This is what I did, and this is what a lot of the people that I grew up with did. You go to school and you just try to do a good job at school, balance having fun, but really you want to get good grades because you want to go to a prestigious institution, or just you're trying to get your degree. You go to school, you get an internship, you eventually get that job lined up. You're doing the steps that you were told to do. And all of a sudden you do the right thing for the next 30 years of your life, and you are the definition of mediocre. And I think mediocrity is one of the greatest tragedies, and it's really bred, not that everyone is meant for something greater, but I do think that a lot of people find contentment and they become passive because they check the box where society's like, okay, you did enough. You're not going to get shamed by any of your family members if you work a 9 to 5. They're like, hey, you're paying the bills, good on you. And listen, all respect to the people that work 9 to 5s. I come from a family of people that work 9 to 5s, and they certainly work hard, but I almost relate it to quiet quitting, where, okay, I'm doing enough. And so the fact that there is effort that's being put out that's enough for me to feel like my peers are going to respect me. And people don't even consciously understand that this is sort of a great motivation or benchmark that they're dictating their life by, if my peers are going to validate me or not. Who's going to make fun of you if you are making $80,000 a year and you are an accountant, and on the weekends you go golfing with your friends and you have a wife and you have kids and you're getting by? You're not super rich, but you're still able to afford things, and by all means you live a respectable life. And I'm not saying it's not a respectable life, but what I am saying is these people are coping and thinking that this was a life that was meant for them and that that's all they could do, when in reality they're passive. And being passive is the path of least resistance. I remember when I was a kid, this might sound silly to you, but it was 2020, right around the time that I was referring to that psychological barrier. I was a sophomore in high school. The school had closed for the year for COVID, and that TV show Outer Banks came out. Have you seen that show?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I watched that show and I saw a group of kids that went out in the world and they did whatever they wanted. And instantly I was just mesmerized by the show. I don't know why that show captivated me so much. All of my peers were talking about that show. And I remember sitting there just being like, wow, this show makes me want to be an actor, or it makes me want to be like a surfer with a bunch of friends. You know what I mean? And I really truly was like, this is it. This is the life that I want. I was getting a dopamine hit from watching television. I was getting a dopamine hit from scrolling on Instagram Reels and seeing edits of these people that I wanted to be like. And I became passive. And once again, and you'll notice a theme with sort of the things I'm talking about here, it's very subconscious. It's very subtle. You don't notice it's going on, or if you do, it's just so minor that it's not something that you feel the need to confront or address immediately. So all of a sudden, 3 years went by and I didn't do anything. And I was like, oh, I really want to be an actor. 3 years went by, nothing happened. I didn't do anything. But this is the standard. It's, you want to do something. It seems a little out of reach. It seems a little bit not a little bit, a lot of it unrealistic. It's unrealistic for you to have a podcast with 3+ million subscribers. That's literally the top 0.001%. I mean, that's basically impossible from most people's standards. So if I want to be the next Jack, why should I even try? Like, I'll just get the dopamine hits from seeing him interview some of the biggest, most successful or most well-known people in the world. And deep down, I think that I can do the same thing as him, but so that's enough for my brain to cope. But it's really just passivity. It's really the inability to take responsibility for your life and have agency.
I love that. It's like the things that are actually the problems in your life are the subconscious
Yes.
behaviors that you don't realize you're doing. Like, it's like when I think about what God a lot of people worship, it's the one they don't realize they worship. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, this is a little heady for this point of the podcast, but I'm sure you're familiar with like Gnosticism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Gnosticism is the idea that like you are God. And like when I think about society right now, it's almost as though everyone worships that, but they don't call it Gnosticism because it feels so real to them. They just like worship whatever their own desires are. And I think too, what you're saying with the person at the playing golf with their friends on the weekend, making $80K a year, like the fact that they get no criticism is validation that they're on the right path. But do you think that that's the case? Like, do you think being on the right path means getting no criticism?
Oh, that means you're on the wrong path if you're getting no criticism. I think if you are doing something and you are excellent at what you do, which I would argue that potentially the purpose in your life is to figure out what you're good at, and by proxy, you will enjoy. I think if you're good at something, and at least in my life experience, you enjoy what you're good at. You find that thing, you become good at it. People are going to resent you simply for the fact that you're becoming successful at this very thing. And the average person, think about your hometown. To anyone that's watching this right now, how many people from your hometown really stand out as individuals who have achieved sort of, I don't want to say status because it doesn't have to be public, but have become widely regarded as the top in their respective fields in life at whatever they're pursuing? The chances are, for the average person, if you're not from a major city, you might have 0 people in your hometown that really fit that. Okay, they're the top 0.01%. How many people have actually been able to become professional athletes or actors or whatever it is, right? And when you sort of see that and no one's going where they want to be, and then they start to see people online that are that exception, they are the standout person, naturally they're going to build up that resentment and envy you. So if you're not getting criticism, if you're not getting hate, you're not doing something right. I can't even think of one can you name me one person in human history who was great at what they did and it was in any way, shape, or form known and they didn't get hate, but they're not actually angry at you. It's more so a projection. So they're angry at themselves, and you're the poster, especially if you're in the public eye like me or you. More people are going to know, more people are going to see. And then that just becomes like an easy cop out. You're, a billboard on the side of a giant building in a city. So more people are going to see that. It's easier for more people to project off that, obviously metaphorically here. But the reason that I think more successful people push you more is because they also like that competition. Competition really motivates people. For me, especially when I was starting, when I was in the realm where I was pretty much just trying to break out and stand out a little bit, there were so many people in my niche that were doing the exact same thing as me. I would see a video, they would maybe have 1,000 followers more than me. They were getting a few thousand more views a video, and I would watch their videos and I would be like, that I am so much better than that. Like I know that I am better than that. And I would get pissed off, not at them. I wasn't hating them, but I was more so mad at where I currently was. And then I would go in my parents' basement and I would then dedicate 16-hour days to figuring out what type of video I wanted to make, executing the video, doing all that. And I would just do it day in and day out. And then I would pass that person eventually. And then boom, it's on to the next one. And that competition kept me going. And it really got me to where I am now. And there's still competition. There's still places that I want to go to. And that's been healthy. There's a way that you can turn that to be healthy.
I think friends are overrated. I think enemies are often confused with competitive friends. You know what I mean? It's like the person that's going to push you the hardest is the person doing the same thing as you.
Yes.
And they're competing. I want to ask, what's the most important part of your backstory to understand who you are? Are you a person that had a lot of friends? What's the most important part of your backstory to understand who you are? Are you a person that had a lot of friends?
So when I was younger, and when I say younger, up until 7th grade, so middle school, I was actually extremely well liked. I was this kind of sounds a little bit narcissistic, but I do think I was popular. I was the athletic kid, sort of that fit into that jock, and I was good at school too. So I think I was held in high regards by my peers. And I was doing sports and I sort of built my identity around that stuff. Super vain, but when you're a kid, that's just kind of how it goes. You haven't developed enough to know some of the deeper stuff. And around 7th grade, going into 8th grade, I decided to cut off some of my closest friends who were, the most popular guys in school. And the reason I did it sounds super silly, but they were starting to get into, that's around the time where people are doing more mature things. They're starting to maybe do drugs, vaping, drinking, hanging out with girls. I think you know where I'm going with that. I come from a very honest, hardworking Christian family. The values that were instilled in me is like, what matters is the type of person you are and the effect that you have on others. And, I never really saw my parents drink when I grew up. My siblings weren't doing anything crazy. So the household, I was very blessed, very privileged in the household that I grew up in. And I didn't want to go down that route. I would almost say I was scared when I saw my friends start to do that stuff. And so I sort of pulled away, but I still was in sports. I was still friendly. It wasn't like there was a bad falling out. It was just, we turned from friends to acquaintances. And then 8th grade happens, freshman year happens, and I play baseball, I play basketball, I play lacrosse. I'm, in the extracurriculars, very involved in school. I'm doing the things that an individual that would have sort of a trajectory of being very social, you would assume, is going on. And I don't know what it was, but I just really got to a point where I couldn't stand a lot of my peers. I thought that a lot of them were very fake. I saw the sort of hierarchical nature that begins to develop even in middle school, but very much so in high school. I saw how all the stuff they say at the movies was exaggerated, but it was true in terms of like, there is a hierarchy. And I found myself pretty much, for lack of better terms, I was the bitch of the friend group that I was a part of. And I use friend group loosely there because I think they were more acquaintances than friends. And I wasn't inspired by this group of people, but they were sort of the popular jocks. They were well established and liked in my school. And I don't know what happened, but I just couldn't really take it anymore. I was kind of done with it. And so I decided to, I wouldn't say that I necessarily expelled myself from that. It was, I kind of became a little bit bitter, and I think rightfully so, they didn't really like me anymore. I was kind of being a little bit of an asshole. And then I end up, long story short, by sophomore year, no friends at all. I was still acquaintances with all these top people, but for example, it was homecoming, the dance, and we're sitting at this lunch table. This is freshman year. And it's like all of this friend group, the guys and the girls sitting at this table. There's probably 20 of us there. And everyone at this table was going to this homecoming together. And I wasn't invited. And naturally, I'm not going to show them that I was affected by the fact that I wasn't invited. But how would you feel if literally every single person in your friend group openly discussed plans that they were doing in something as formal as homecoming, and then they didn't invite you? And that really pissed me off. And I think that what really frustrated me was these people weren't impressive to me. They didn't have any sort of a lot of them were better at sports than me, but I was more interested in intellectual pursuits when I was younger. I kind of did sports because that's what my family put me into, but I thought that these people were just kind of shallow, and I don't know. So I was resentful, as I was alluding to earlier in this. And then all of a sudden, I just distanced myself. I felt disrespected. I distanced myself. Now the rest 3 years of high school, it's COVID hits, we're alone, and I quit the sport that I was doing. I didn't even like it. I realized the entire time I was doing it was because I wanted that identity of the person that played sports. I wanted that friend group, which deep down I didn't like at all, and they didn't like me at all. So all of a sudden, I'm spending my Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights alone. I'm doing school. I became very, very intense about school. I was trying to become valedictorian. I was, heavily involved in my studies. That's the time that I fell in love with reading books. I started reading books. I was very much what people would call performative or pretentious reader back then, before those terms were popular. But I'd read classic books. I would study. I started getting into politics. And I really, deep down, this was cope. I wanted to be smarter than everyone else. I wanted to know things better. I was naturally better at debating. And so I would sort of I would provoke, I would get into arguments, and I would win. I was good at them. But who was I as a person? And so I sort of had to go through this arc where at the end of the night, I'm just alone. And so this starts to compound deeply when you are I think friends to some extent is cope, but as Aristotle would say in the Nicomachean Ethics, to live a virtuous and happy life, you need friends. It's just, I don't think it's as important when you're young, but surely in your adolescence, you need social experience. And so that was gone sophomore through the rest of high school. I was still acquaintances with these people. I knew they didn't like me. They knew I didn't really like them, but it was kind of like, we'll just be cordial, whatever. Senior year, I kind of loosened up a little bit. I'm like, all right, there's no point in holding on a grudge to these people. It's going to be whatever. And it was fine. Senior year was fine, but I still wasn't social at all. I go into college and I say, this is my turning point. So I get into college and I'm thinking, I don't have any of the attributes that normal, what you would say your sort of poster boy, your ideal type of individual who's a part of the male loneliness epidemic would be. I would do sports. I knew how to talk to people. That was never an issue for me. And I wasn't super hideous to look at. I didn't have things that a normal person would think would exclude you from anything social, but I just had no friends. So I go to college and I don't drink or do drugs or any of that stuff. I still haven't to this day. I didn't think that made me better than anyone, but I started to realize that my freshman year of college, this was a huge part of the culture. American culture is very heavily into drinking, nightlife, stuff like that. That just didn't align with who I was. And so I didn't join a frat or anything like that. And I still wanted to be social. So I would try with these people and I would make friends, kind of like school friends in my classes that you would go to twice a week. So I was like, I'm talking to these people for 2 hours out of the whole week. And they were all in frats. And so we never, developed anything further. So I would spend my days in my dorm room. It was literally in this basement. There were cockroaches. They called it a dungeon. Very depressed, very depressed. I didn't have much going for me. was trying all these different online businesses, failed at them all. I had nothing going for me. I was like, if
Where
I'm
was
going
this
to,
at, by the way?
I was at Arizona.
So you're at ASU? Or
University of
of Arizona, and then before then you were in.
I'm in Nebraska now, but I grew up the first 21 years of my life. Technically, my home base was like northern Chicago, and then I got these like sales internships, and I would go and do those, and I would make friends there for the summer, and then they would disappear, and that would be that. And I was like, I started to realize a lot of things were temporary, kind of hurt a little bit more. And as I was growing into adulthood, I was just desperate to try anything. I was grasping at straws, trying this, trying that. Everything failed. So I was deeply, deeply alone. It really got so bad where my parents had to sit me down and they're like, you need to go to a therapist. You need legitimate help because you're lacking something here. We can tell you're bitter. We can tell something's wrong. And they were, as I was saying before, they're like, why don't you just fit in like your siblings, or like you don't have anything about you that would make you, repulsive to other people? Like what is it about you that you just can't seem to socialize? And I just became so obsessed with understanding the way the world worked, philosophy, psychology, all these things really on a surface level at that time. And I was like, kind of coping, but hey, I'm just going to do me and I'll see where this goes. And then eventually I start recording videos. Those videos start to do good. And now all of a sudden my life is, complete 180. I have people in my DMs that I looked up to when I was a kid. I have very, high value, successful friends. And I kind of use that loosely because they're doing their own thing and I live in Nebraska. You know what I mean? So I'm moving in a month and I plan on traveling and doing all these things. But to the core, to understand who I am and why I have the belief system that I do, it's because I don't think I met a single person who was lonelier than me between the ages of 15, 16 to, the first half of 22. I'm 22 right now.
Did you choose loneliness?
I think it would be somewhat cope for me to say I chose loneliness.
Do you think you chose it at first and over time it became harder to stop? Like you became addicted to it?
It is addicting. It's especially addicting when you start to see the self-destructive behavior other people do and how you don't want to be a part of that. And you do form this, I don't know if ego is the right word, but you look at yourself in a higher regard when you're social. Have you ever read Notes from Underground by Dostoevsky?
Mm-mm.
So this book, long story short, it's about the underground man who's this guy who's deeply conscious and he's smarter than other people. He truly is, but he's very aware of that. And he's like, oh, I hate all these other people because I'm smarter than them and I'm more conscious than them and I'm 10 steps ahead of them. And he gets resentful and he starts to become almost paralyzed in life because he doesn't do things because he's constantly overthinking everything. And I feel like to some degree I fit into that mold, but it would be cope if I said that I fully chose isolation for myself because I still did long for connection, for peer validation. I wanted people to like me. But the one thing I was never willing to sacrifice was what I believed in and my ideologies, the way I carried myself. I was always very vocal about my opinions from a very young age. Everyone in my family said this when I was 6 years old. You're like, Jet, you always are very vocal about what you believe. It could be the most random thing. It could be about sports. I would argue with people that Steph Curry was better than LeBron my entire middle school career. You know what I mean? So
would you say you're a disagreeable person?
Depends how well I know the person. If I am meeting you or it's the first few months into me knowing you, I'm extremely agreeable, actually. I tend not to try to get into arguments if I know people. For most of my life, I've avoided confrontation, was always scared of confrontation. That's a little bit different now, especially that I've been in the public more. But if I know you, I am a disagreeable person. And if I love you or respect you, I'm extremely disagreeable because I think that's the ultimate form of love.
So how many years would you say you spent like very minimal time talking to people?
6 years. I would say 6 years. It was really from end of freshman year, I'll just call it sophomore year of high school, through up until senior year, which is this most recent calendar year of college. And those years were fundamentally the most pivotal and important in my life because I think isolation either makes or breaks you, and your agency determines how that goes. And I was finally, after 6 years, able to crack the code and make it work for me. But a lot of people aren't. And there's always time for people to grow. But yeah, it was 6 years of legitimate, I don't hang out with a single person in months at a time. You know, there were a few exceptions of times that I would do something with a coworker after work, but it was more so I wanted to be able to tell my parents that I did it so they'd get a little bit off my back. I didn't really like necessarily my coworkers or connect with them. But yeah, 6 years of deep. I did a 7-month time span in my life where not a single person texted me. 7 months. But outside of work, I didn't get a single text message. I don't know how many people can say that. Not even my own family texted me. So
What did month 4 feel like?
you get almost numb to it. Like you were saying before, it becomes addicting. I didn't expect a text. And when you don't have the expectations, you don't suffer as much. I was recently talking about this, but in life, there's expectations and reality. And the delta between those 2 points, how great your expectations are, just increases your suffering. So you want to mitigate the gap between those 2 points and not have high expectations because you won't be let down and you'll find that life goes more smoothly. That being said, to anyone that just listened to me say that, that is a slippery slope because if you just lower your expectations, this sort of dulls your ambition, it dulls your hope and your positivity about life. And I'm widely regarded online as this sort of doomer commentary person. But what's really interesting is I truly believe that positivity is the only workable solution in life. And I can tell you firsthand that you're not going to get anything out of sitting and moping around. Even when I was making videos talking about these things, I would go to bed every single night with positive affirmations. I'd wake up in the morning, I'm listening to Kanye West. I was, and I still am, doing everything to develop self-belief and to be positive. When I was doing these videos, it's funny, I remember talking to someone, and I said, I don't know what it is, but I tried so many businesses before social media, and they all failed miserably. I didn't go to prom. Prom night, I spent $3,000 on, a business venture, whatever, and it completely blew up on my face. I lost the $3,000. I thought it was going to be like an epic. It sounds so cringy. I thought it was going to be epic. Oh, I skipped prom and I did this. When in reality, I had no friends or no one to go with, so I wasn't going to go either way. But which sounds so cringy. I can't believe I'm admitting that, but yeah, it blew up on my face. I lost the $3,000. I'm like, hey, it is what it is. All these things failed. I don't know what it was, Jack, with social media. I remember texting someone and being like, this is going to work. I don't even think it's going to work. I know it's going to work because there was one day I got 2 followers and I thought that was crazy. I got 2 followers in a day. And I said, oh, there's 0% chance I don't get to 100,000 because I'll just post enough videos and just do this until it's impossible for me not to hit 100,000. And like, that's what happened. It was because I believed it. So positivity is the only workable solution. So you got to be very, very careful. But to answer your question about, 4 months in, you no longer have those expectations and you realize that this is another very popular saying online, no one's coming to save you.
Right.
So I was sat down and it was very hard for me to confront myself, but I said, I got to do something. I got to do something because I'm sitting here coping, saying that I'm better than other people or that I'm more worthy or more talented than other people, but I have nothing to show for it. And that was the point where I was like, okay, there needs to be some sort of progress. And even after that, I would just cope by success porn. I'm going to go online and I'm going to watch a Joe Rogan podcast where he's got on some super ultra wealthy, successful individual. And I'm going to listen to that person. And I'm going to relate to them. Oh yeah, I'm a really hardworking person. And that's another tough thing was I always was hardworking. I was very good at school. I got a full ride to college because I really try to dial in on my grades. I would always I've always been known by my family as someone who does extremes. You might have heard it be referenced to live life like a lion. Lions are either, 110%, they're viciously chasing, trying to get food, or they're very lazy. They don't really do much. And that's how I was. I was with everything I did. Once I started going to the gym when I turned 19, I went 218 days straight for a minimum of 3 hours. I was going to a buffet every night, and I gained 65 pounds, mostly of muscle, in the span of 7 months or something like that. And I was very extreme with it. And that's how I would do most things. And so,
Let me ask you this on the isolation. You said you practically spent 6 years by yourself, little to no contact with friends, talk to your family sometimes. I know you said a lot of it was cope, but what do you think is the one truth that a man can only learn by himself?
you cannot develop your identity as a man, if you don't spend a substantial amount of time completely alone. 99% of hometowns in America are going to have, this sounds very negative, but it's the cold hard truth, viciously mediocre people that truly are not striving for greatness. In my hometown, from a very young age, I would always tell my parents, I really want to be successful at something. I don't know what it is, but I'm very ambitious about being successful about something. And people they say the same thing. Everyone says they want to be successful. Everyone says they want to do something. But man, I just was so uninspired by the people that I grew up with, which sounds so bad. I don't think they're less valuable as humans. I'm not saying that I'm intrinsically better than these people, but I was not inspired by them. I don't know what it was. And if I would have conformed, or even having friends in and of itself can be cope, especially at that time in my life, it would have been cope if I would have stayed friends with them. I felt like that would have been a lack of self-respect. But what happens is you are diminishing and sometimes committing career suicide, or not career suicide, but you're destroying your potential by being friends with these people. And when you're forcing yourself into isolation, and it can't just be isolation from people physically and socially, it needs to be also online. You need to distance yourself from the things you're seeing online, because the average person spends more time scrolling than they do with people. So that still dictates, the algorithm is dictating what you think and your identity. So you need to distance yourself from all of that. And extreme isolation is sort of the only workable way that you can do that, at least that I'm aware of. I would not be sitting here having this conversation with you right now if I did not spend time in isolation. I would not be sitting here right now if I wasn't that guy that people didn't like and was essentially saying I was pretentious, or I thought I was better than everyone else. These are things that I had to go through to learn, and it would never have happened had I just conformed and been willing to go to school, get a corporate job, be a slave for the rest of my life, and just be viciously mediocre and let my potential go to waste.
Right. I think a lot about, there's a couple ideas here that are really interesting. Like, I had a guest say on the podcast recently, like, free will isn't real because other people alter your behavior, you know? So it's like, if I say something and you reward me for it, then I'll say more of that thing. If I say something and you punish me for it, I'll say less of that thing. But it's only when you're by yourself that you kind of have this free will and you're not consuming anything, because the algorithm isn't dictating where your mind goes. People aren't dictating the behaviors that you take. But I feel like you have to write, you know, like you have to get your thoughts out there in order to develop yourself. You can't just sit in silence.
Yeah.
You know, like, what were the behaviors you were doing that you thought were productive in hindsight and you still try to practice?
Yeah. So, and this is, I'm glad you asked that question, because that's very true. I was not doing nothing. I was trying to be a sponge and soak in as much information about life, because for what I lacked, I think there's some sort of psychological aspect of it, but I lacked the social validation. I didn't have friends. I was trying to cope with that. And what's a good way for me to cope? Oh, I'm going to become smarter than everybody else. I'm going to become more well-informed, better spoken, become a better debater, and basically prove to these people that that the reason they rejected me was actually because I'm better than them, not worse than them. But if you are in isolation, if someone's listening to this, you have to be productive with it. You can't go into isolation and then go on your phone. You can't go into isolation and watch a streamer for 3 to 4 hours a day and wish that, or become entitled to that certain life, become resentful. It's bound to happen, because all you're going to see online is people that are better than you. So I was humbly productive with that period of time in my life.
What prayer did you say to God when you were by yourself?
I said either take away my loneliness or give me someone to be with. It was one or the other. But the biggest thing was I just craved like having a circle of community, one person, a girlfriend, anything. But I would pray to God often. I would just say, just take away that feeling of loneliness, like my desire to be around people, because that's what really hurt. It's like I was saying before, the expectations versus reality. I don't know if expectations is the right word in this context, but I truly had a desire to be well accepted by other people. And when I didn't have it, it stung. And I was like, okay, I'm cool being alone. That's what's weird. Being alone is addicting, but in any one given night, you're fine being alone. But then those nights pile up into months, those months into years. All of a sudden, I look back, it's been 4 years and I don't have a friend group. And I'm like, God, just take away the desire to be accepted or to be around other people. And that was a very difficult part of my life. And eventually I matured out of it, but that is truly how I felt. And that is what I would pray to God.
How did God answer that?
God works in interesting ways. He answered it, I think, in the best way possible in retrospect. Now, that's often how that works. But I had to grow and develop as a person. I had to be more sympathetic, more caring towards others. I had to drop the I'm better than you act. And that was only going to happen if I had that time to self-reflect. But it also propelled me to be the man that I'm becoming today. I wouldn't say the man that I am because I'm still far from where I want to go. But when I was spending all that time alone, I figured out what mattered. You don't know the true value of water until you're in the desert, not when you're in the ocean. So having the absence of the thing that I wanted taught me the most about it. And now I truly believe I understand the value of friendship more than almost anyone I know because I didn't have it. I know what it's like to be around either fake people or no people at all. I figured out what it's like to be around genuine people that do want you to succeed and are not going against you. I've found individuals who, unfortunately, right now living in Nebraska, I don't live around anyone. I just, every once in a while, hang out with my roommates. But after I move out at the end of this month, I do have some things lined up with some people that I met online, and some people have definitely had my best interest and looked out for me. And none of this would be possible, and I would not be nearly as intuitive when it comes to understanding, oh, is this person have my best interest or not, had I not gone through that. So God didn't just answer my prayer, he gave me a blessing.
You talked about empathy. Do you think Gen Z is the least empathetic generation?
We're the most selectively empathetic.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is when there is conflict that arises, the natural, this is basic human psychology, the groups that you align with form, and there has to be a greater support system within that group as a sort of way to deal with the conflict. And what we're seeing on a large scale, especially in America, you have a divide, and it could be men versus women, whites versus blacks, liberals, conservatives, whatever it is. And people become extremely empathetic and sympathetic towards their people. But the second empathy requires you to go beyond the bounds, we're not, which is why I think you're asking, do you think that we're the least empathetic? Because in that sense, we are, but we're more empathetic to our own people. C.S. Lewis has this quote. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I think he says something along the lines of, some people cast hatred onto their neighbors and their family, and they thrust empathy towards the outward circumference. And what he meant by that is that oftentimes what you'll see is, you know, people are rude towards family members or people that they live by because that doesn't really cost them anything. If I'm rude to, and I've had this issue myself, but if I'm rude to my dad, what's going to happen? Is he going to disown me as a son? No. If I'm rude to my neighbor, can they move? No. And so it's performative, right? It's what they call performative empathy. The outer circumference doesn't require anything from you as a person. I could sit here and tell you any random, let's say there's purple people. I love purple people, bro. I think they're the best. And I think that, this group of people, they've been so oppressed and they've gone through so much. And maybe that's true. Maybe they have. But what am I doing right now to help the purple people? I'm doing nothing because they don't live in my city. I'm not actually engaging with them on a daily basis. They don't see who I am behind closed doors. So your empathy is truly tested when there's nothing to gain from it. And also when it's somebody that you don't align with. I see this, there's a talking point in the literature community online where people are like, you have to read books because books teach you how to have empathy. But the same people that are saying this, all they do is read books that reinforce whatever belief that they have about anything. Or maybe the author didn't design it that way, but they're interpreting it that way. And they're like, wow, I have empathy because I felt bad for this person that was born poor. Let's try to have empathy for somebody that has a completely different ideology as you. Try to be a white person and have empathy for the black person that just got murdered. Try to be a black person and have empathy for the white person that just got murdered. It doesn't happen anymore, right? And so that's the true test of an individual's character. And as time goes on, I think that is the gap is widening and it's getting worse. It's getting more severe. The more conflict that we have, the more people feel the need to just really support their team to give themselves the best shot. And once again, this happens subconsciously, and it's also has to do with identity. If I identify with one thing, like I was saying before, I can't deviate from the line of thought that my community or the people that also have the same identity as me have, because that's pretty much psychological and group suicide.
That's an interesting idea that you can't be empathetic for someone that you don't see a bit of yourself in. Like if I said to the average person, you're a little like Donald Trump, like I feel like they would get offended by that.
Yeah.
And that's what allows them to not have any empathy for them in the first place. But in reality, everyone is a little bit like Donald Trump,
Yeah, for sure.
On algorithms specifically, and I know you've kind of broken this down, but how do algorithms influence men's thoughts?
Algorithms are perhaps the most dangerous threat to our society right now. And the reason they're so dangerous, kind of alluding to the question,
I agree, by the way,
is that number one, it's so hard to diagnose or to say this was the problem that led to that. When you see some random person attack someone else in public, how are you going to trace that back to the cause of the algorithm made that person angry for whatever reason and now they're taking it out on that person? You can't really do that. But number two, how can the government or whoever put regulations on algorithms? You can't. You have the smartest engineers in the world that are working on these algorithms. The algorithms are quite literally the most profitable business concept that's being applied ever. You could have a terrible product, and if you know how to work the algorithm, you could sell a bunch. But it's not about the products, it's about the ideologies, the identities that they're pitching. So when you ask, how does it affect young men? Well, it's consuming if this is your identity, slowly but surely, the algorithm's gnawing away and it's eating a little bit more and more of you. And if you don't, as I was saying before, create, and if all you do is consume, there is no defense. You have no defense against this. You have no ability to critically think. So, I'm a young male who's trying to make it in this world and I'm not making it. And a lot of times that's going to be, self-inflicted. But Andrew Tate told me X, Y, and Z. So now I'm going to believe him. And now everything else, like you were saying before, I'm going to believe everything else that he said. All of a sudden, we're slipping, and this is a very slippery slope, and it's hard to come back from, where everything that you're doing is been curated without you knowing it. It's subconscious by your algorithm. When you scroll across something, a certain idea, the first time, you're like, I disagree with that. Second time, I disagree with that. 30th time, you still disagree with it. But when you're scrolling 4 hours a day, every day, you're going to start to see certain themes, narratives, trends, and your 200th time seeing something, your brain has accepted it more. And that's how they get you. And no one has the agency or the cognitive ability to recognize this in real time, so that one time, every one time that you see the video, you're like, this isn't doing anything to me. But that's not how our brains are designed. Our brains are literally biologically designed through evolution to basically accept and recognize certain patterns. And then if so many people are reinforcing it, and the people that you believe are reinforcing it, all of a sudden you inherit that. And then what's even scarier, and this is the real thing, it just eats your identity. And everything you do in life is done by proxy of your identity. It's a byproduct of your identity. And so if they can get your identity, they can get you to buy all these products, associate yourself with a certain group. In other words, your agency is gone without you even realizing it. And it's just so scary, because how do I stop the algorithm? Who can stop the algorithm? It's who can directly explain to me one-to-one why it's the algorithm that correlates with the unemployment rate. It's almost impossible to sort of backtrack that, as I was saying before. So how do we come to a solution to this? It's so metaphysical. There's nothing substantial about it. It's in the air. It's just a thing that exists. It's a concept. And so how do we stop something that's not physical, and it's just sort of this thing that slowly eats away at our brains? That's potentially not the most important question, but one of the most important questions that needs to be answered by us as a society as a whole right now.
If you had to guess on how the algorithm is designed, like, can you summarize one sentence its objective on like everyone that engages with it? Like the short form algorithms, like, what would you guess that objective is?
Replace your time and thoughts.
With what?
With the thoughts that they want. But specifically, because everyone gets different thoughts, it's going to be, I got to think of the right word to say, thoughts that can evoke the most emotion for you personally. So think about business in terms of real estate. For millennia, businesses, let's say from the start of America, you're trying to expand, you're trying to conquer different territories, do all that. You're trying to have an online presence, you're trying to have a brick and mortar presence. You're basically trying to like conquer all these things, but slowly but surely we're running out of capital that exists. There is a finite amount of capital, and a lot of companies have sort of hit that block where, okay, I don't have much more places to go in terms of how can I profit off of people. So now they're coming for your time, and algorithms are the easiest way to come for your time. That is the new real estate, is time. So if they can, or attention, depending, I think that might be a better word. They're coming for your attention. They want you to be focused on them. And every business is doing this. It doesn't matter if it's Meta themselves, TikTok, whoever owns TikTok, YouTube.
And what would you suspect is the number one way to capture the most amount of time from someone?
Appeal to emotion.
Appeal to emotion? You wouldn't say it would be transform their identity?
Well, appealing to their emotion is transforming their identity. I just think when I say appeal to their emotion, if I show, for example, I'm from Northern Chicago. I love Chicago sports. I do not care about like California sports teams. If something pops up on my feed and it says, the San Jose Sharks are in X, Y, and Z, and they just got this play, I'm never going to click on that video. If I'm swiping and that video pops up, I'm just going to swipe away. So that's not appealing to my emotion, because I'm not emotionally attached to the San Jose Sharks, and I'm not from that area. If I'm swiping and all of a sudden there's something about Chicago, I'm going to stay. Now apply that concept to literally every venture or ideological position that someone can hold. It does that, and then it will reinforce that, and then it shapes their identity. But the way they do it is very clever, because first they get you by, you're interested in something that the algorithm never told you you're interested in. Like for me, for example, I love FC Barcelona. I never needed an algorithm to show me videos of Messi or whatever. I just grew up liking them. So this is the hook point. So they hook you on something that didn't deviate you from what you already thought. But all of a sudden, your feed develops, and your feed is your identity. Most people can't even have conversations about things that aren't on their feed, right? So they have a feed, which is pretty much their personality. Their identity becomes a reflection. Their personality becomes a reflection of their feed, right? But it starts by, okay, I liked this. All of a sudden, you see something that's a little bit new, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, that's new, but it's not super far off from where I just was. So I'm going to be interested in that. And that's how it sort of, the hook starts to curve a little bit. And all of a sudden, it deviates more and more and more. And then it gets you to a point where whoever the people that are designing these algorithms, whatever their ultimate goal is, which is to own you, they want you to be a passive slave. That's the entire, they want to be able to do whatever in the physical world and have people distracted by things that don't matter, that are online, or politics, or I'm not saying politics don't matter, but things that people don't really curate or utilize in a way to create something in their life. They want you passive so that they can just oppress you more and that you're not going to do anything about it. This is what Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, kind of the core idea. Have you ever read that book? The concept is, you have 1984, it's a future of surveillance. Brave New World was more future of control by pleasure. So you're not going to care that the government is oppressing you if they're feeding you. You're not going to care the ways that they're stopping you from doing what you want to do in life. If you can scroll on your phone, if you can buy things off Amazon, if you can watch your favorite, people say bread and circus, which I think is kind of cringy. And oftentimes that's the talking point from the dumbest person you know. So I don't really like to say that, but to some extent it is true. They're bread and circusing their way to have people not care about what's actually going on, or how can the mass populace revolt? How can they form a union against what's going on, or form an assembly and, actually push back? They're never going to do it if, number one, we're so divided, which the algorithms clearly do. But number two, we're just consumed by it to where we don't even care enough. We're only going to go on the streets. People only go on the streets to protest because they want to feel morally righteous half the time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they actually, I truly, if you ask me, I don't think the majority of people that talk about matters that are important actually care about the matter itself, as opposed to the identity of being the person that does that thing. I want to be the person that says, I hate Trump, because guess what? If I go and then post a picture on social media, everyone's going to think I'm a good person. I'm not getting into politics. I don't care what your political opinion is, but I do feel like most people fall into these different forms of, it doesn't just have to be politics. It could be it could be sports, it could be drama, entertainment. But yeah, I'm going to fall into that, and then nothing else matters in life. And that's going to be the talking point. Instead of when I go and hang out with my friends tonight, instead of me talking about how can I be more ambitious about my goals, how can I set some sort of thing in place to get closer to where I want in life, instead I'm going to talk about Love Island. And this is, attention is one of the greatest currencies you have, time, attention. And so if they can control you even when you're not on the algorithms, then they've won. And that's exactly what's happened. Because can you have a conversation with someone about something that wasn't on their algorithm in the past month? For the average person, unlikely. There's a little bit of nuance. There's some people that can, but they have stolen the identity. They've replaced it with what they want. And it's just it's like the same concept of a cult. So the psychology of cults is that they use what's called the scapegoat method. So they tell you that, it's good versus evil, and you guys are fighting the aliens that are going to come down to Earth, or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, this gives your life so much purpose, because they just told you that person's bad. And guess what? I have nothing going on in my life. I need to cope with that. So this is giving me my out. I can say that because I hate Biden, because I hate Trump, my life is meaningful. I'm a good person. I actually amount to something. I'm doing something. Well, really, it's not. You're just sort of coping, and you're sitting here completely ignorant to the fact that your brain has just been stolen by an algorithm that's designed by the same people that you're criticizing. So that's what I find so interesting. But it's dangerous because, once again, a lot of this happens subconsciously, and people really don't care. And it's amplified by the fact that people feel a sense of, I need to do something in my life. And a lot of people aren't doing something with their life. A lot of people are working jobs that they don't like. A lot of people, their day-to-day is very unfulfilling. They're not where they want to be. And you need some way to feel as though you're significant. So boom, politics, easy out. It's kind of a filler. It's kind of a, hey, there's a void in my life. I need to somehow create a substitute for this. And then 20 years goes by and you just became a victim of the algorithm that made you feel good about yourself because you were too much of a, this is going to sound harsh, but you were too much of a coward to confront your inability to do what you wanted with your life. And by the way, I think people do have potential. I think everyone has potential to do something, but it's just a matter of agency.
Do you think it's identity is something that you should try to remove? Or do you, from the philosophy that you've read, is identity guaranteed in every person to be important?
I think identity is guaranteed to be important because, so I almost relate this to, have you heard of the phrase ego death?
Mm-hmm.
I think ego death is like one of the dumbest things, honestly. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand how you can kill your ego because your ego is what makes you live. Like your ego is that part inside of you that's makes you do certain tasks that have allowed humans to evolve. So you can't just, this concept of ego death, I understand from a spiritual point. I understand the point that they're trying to make, but people to make it way too literal. It's not literally ego death, but yeah. So your identity, you can't be an NPC, a spiritualist individual. I've never met someone that's like that. There are some people that are less conscious or less sentient for sure. I think we all have anecdotal experience of that. But your identity is you. You cannot just kill you. So there is no, this person doesn't have an identity. Now, how do you shape your identity? This is very important. I'll speak to the way that I did it for me, and I'm still shaping this is an ongoing process. I think it will be until the day that you die. You have to, as I said before, create more than you consume, because consuming is things are giving you your identity. This is going to get me in trouble for what I'm about to say here, but it's the truth. A lot of new media, specifically TV shows like on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, is 100% being designed to manipulate women. I don't know if you've seen this, but the shows that are coming out are so genuinely it's so easy to see the way that they're trying to change these like young girls' perspective on life and how attached that they get to these specific things. There's a male equivalent to this too, by the way, that's somewhat attached to the sort of red pill, black pill sphere. So there's a male equivalent, but if you have a more extreme opinion, it's more likely to be pushed. So every opinion is extreme. You know, at this point, that's literally why Clav got so big, is because he took a concept that everyone knows looks matter. He took it to the extreme. He basically became the female version of a male, where he all of a sudden, am I wrong?
It's just funny framing.
But yeah, so he basically took on the feminine, where he's like, oh, I'm thinking about getting the surgeries and like wearing makeup and all this stuff. And so that's like an extreme from the male perspective. So that gets popular. The same thing is going to be true for women. If I post something that's like super like, all men suck, I'm going to get a lot of views. If I say all men are amazing, who is it? Savannah Stone. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you have her mindset or her belief system, that's also very unpopular, very radical in the modern day. That's going to go very viral. So you don't really see the people in the middle that are more, I don't want to say realistic, because just because something is extreme doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong, but in a sort of easy to comprehend way, the more moderate individuals that aren't strongly caring about anything, you're not going to see a video with someone who has
Nothing
that opinion.
nuanced goes viral, you know?
Yeah, nothing nuanced goes viral. That is, Lord knows that's true.
I find it really interesting how much media I see of people talking about like men are so lonely, men are incels, men are watching porn all the time. And I'm like, does that just make it worse? Like, do you have any thoughts on this?
So when you were about to do the dishes and your parents tell you to do the dishes, you no longer want to do it. And it's almost like kind of like a reverse psychology of that, where they're telling you don't do something, now you want to do something. And to answer your question, I do think so, mainly because of the concept of rumination. So when you're constantly thinking about something, especially problems, things that you shouldn't be doing, you're now more likely to commit that pattern of behavior over time. And if everyone is, it's definitely a good sentiment. Men should not be watching porn, but when it becomes obsessive and everyone's constantly talking about it, it makes that thought process more common, and then men more likely to commit to it. And the same thing could be said about anything. If you're saying, oh, men are so lonely, and all of a sudden all the talking points are always men lonely, 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 all of a sudden you're subconsciously taking in this information, and now subtle changes in your behavior happen without you realizing it, and that sort of leans towards the things that you're talking about. You are what you think about. You are your thoughts. So if you think that you're constantly lonely, you're going to be lonely. I'm saying this from personal experience. I know probably better than anyone about that. So you have to change that. And that's exactly why I unironically listen to positive affirmations.
Right.
Because I know that my thoughts directly materialize in the real world.
I think about that a lot too. One thing I'll say on the ruminating thoughts is that if you think every man in America on average has one close friend, then you're not going to aim too high above that. You know, it's like, oh, I have 2, like that's good enough, but it's like maybe you need 6. And then on the positive thoughts thing, like, yeah, I before I did a podcast, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and like I'd listen to them before bed sometimes, and I'm like, damn, I like got to be careful which ones I listen to before bed, because that one's about to be programmed up into my subconscious, you know?
Oh, 100%.
I personally found that Jordan Peterson was one of the few people I could listen to and like only have positive thoughts after listening to that kind of content. Is there someone that you like? Or like, what are the affirmations that you listen to?
Alan Watts is fantastic.
Yeah.
His voice too is just it's so good. It's so good if you're trying to fall asleep, and he has a great understanding of psychology, but applied in the social sense. I'll just shuffle through some of the top picks on YouTube. You don't got to be too deep about it. You just got to make sure it truly is positive affirmations. I'm not going to lie. I'm one of the biggest Kanye West fans. I'm from Northern Chicago, especially his early interviews when he was on the come up, and he would just talk about that one interview where he said, when you're a fan of Kanye West, you're not a fan of me, you're a fan of yourself. That perfectly explains it. You need to listen to high frequency music. It's funny because I always thought that, you know, the archetype of those girls that are really into crystals and vibrations, and what I was a kid when I was younger that would make fun of that, and now I realize they're so on the ball with it. I don't necessarily agree in the same way that they do, but what they're talking about is so true, where you are operating from a frequency which is dictated by your beliefs, which are created by your thoughts. And if you don't think positive, how could your life ever turn out positive physically, materially? It simply cannot happen. And so I've also recognized this, that the most positive people that are delusionally optimistic, the ones that are almost annoying that you don't want to be around because it almost seems fake. Those people live great lives. There's a guy, I don't know.
They really do. Yeah.
There's a guy, I don't know what his name is. He's good friends with Higher Up Wellness, who's a friend of mine. And he does, I think his name's Jack Day in the Life or something. And he does those videos where he's dancing and he goes on a run. He gets a lot of flack on the internet. He gets a lot of hate. That guy, I can tell you, lives a great life because he actively forces himself to be positive even when he doesn't, which is objectively better than even being realistic if it's negative. I've been on both sides of this. I'd rather be the annoying guy that gets all the hate on the internet, but then I love my life, and it seems like, I don't know the guy personally, but he seems like he has amazing relationships and is happy. And that is a direct result of his ability to, as Alex Ramosi said, stay in a good mood in the absence of things to be in a good mood about.
Right. Yeah, the frequency crystal thing is really interesting because it's like, I said the exact thing that you just said just now last night to her. I was like, I don't agree with the reason that it works, but I believe that it works if you want it to work, because it's like, you'll definitely know where this quote is from, but it's like every human has a natural urge to like make a god or like worship something, or just to have things on their subconscious. And if you're not planting them there, if you're not like building your own routines and behavior sets, then like other things are going to fill them up. So it's all about choice. Like if you look at every god throughout history, it was just whatever this person used to find order within the chaos that was going on in their life. You know what I mean? On that, what one thing convinced you that Christ is king?
As I said earlier, in the way that people process things, it's emotion, cross-reference with anecdotal experience. But for me, it was, I grew up in a Christian household, and when I was a kid, naturally, if you grow up in a religious household, whatever religion, you tend to just fall into that, and I did. But then I got very depressed, especially later on in later high school, and after the isolation, and was going through a lot of stuff. I got angry with God, and I pretty much became so negative that I was anti-natal. I was like, I don't think you should bring a human into this world. It's so dark.
How old were you?
I was 17, 18 at the time.
And you were anti-natal.
I was anti-natal at the time. I'm not that anymore. I'm quite literally the opposite of that now. But it was because I was suffering, and I was like, it seems very cruel to put another person through this. And eventually I had to go through that hardship. We kind of talked about it before, but I grew a little bit. And that's when I really found Christ, was after I destroyed my faith, stripped it down, and then reestablished it by myself without the influence of my parents. I was living in Arizona. My family was back in Chicago. So I was nowhere near people. When I came back for the summer, I got an apartment that wasn't near my fam. So I was really like out on my own, and I finally reestablished. But to answer your question, there's this quote by Dostoevsky, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, if I shall find truth to be outside of Christ and not for Christ to be one and the same with truth, I shall still choose faith. And I think faith is not an ends, but it's a means, and it's a means by which I live. And if I lived 100 lives and God wasn't real and Jesus wasn't real, I would choose to believe in him every single time, because objectively, I think it makes the world a better place. But I believe in him because when I had nobody, when I had nothing, I started to read scripture. I started to apply the things that I was reading, and I literally felt the Holy Spirit. I felt guidance from Christ. And I understand that's not enough to convince a random person. Anecdotal evidence hardly ever will. But for me, it was so abundantly clear. It's obvious. The only way that you can truly, as Soren Kierkegaard believed, find faith and for your faith to be strong is if you take a leap of faith. So logic can only get you so far when it comes to faith. At some point, things are simply unexplainable, and you have to jump into the void. That is a mystery. That is uncertainty. That is ultimately Christ. And that's precisely why it is faith, because if you could logic your way to it, what would be the point? Certainty is a great enemy of unity. If I know for a fact that God exists, I'm going to live my life however I want, and then I'm just going to repent at the end there, and I'm going to be all good. But actually knowing Christ, loving Christ the way that he loves me, that makes me want to be a better person on a day-to-day basis. And I've never felt that with anything else. And that feeling is so overwhelming that it almost crushes any other conception that I have of the world or doubt, simply by the faith and the power of it.
I think belief in God and Christ is particularly interesting because Jesus gives you an outlet to be constantly self-forgiving and get rid of shame. And then God gives you a direction to align with the highest possible good. Do you think about shame a lot?
Used to. Not as much anymore, for the reason that we were talking about with thinking positively. Because people act like shame is such a bad thing. I don't think it is. Shame is almost like a stimuli that's telling you to change your behavior. And if it's used correctly, it can definitely be for the betterment. I still have shame by the way that I treated people in my past. And that is what steered me towards trying to be more sympathetic of a person, kinder. That would have never happened without shame, but you don't want to ruminate on it for the same reason that you don't want to ruminate or think about the concept that, oh, more men are lonely, because that's just going to sort of consume you on the inside. And then you just have this, oh my gosh, I'm like a terrible person and I can't do anything right. We all fall short of the glory of God. We all sin. Every single person has it's the human condition. You think that what you're doing is so, you could be like the nicest person in the world and you think you're the worst person in the world. That's just how it goes. And it's a very bad downward spiral when you let shame consume you. My best advice would be treat shame as a teacher. When your teacher teaches you, you internalize it and you accept it, but then you don't just constantly think about it. You let it change the way who you are, your identity, and then you can walk differently because of it. But you're not like, oh, I remember when my one teacher said this. You're like, no, you've internalized it. It's changed who you are as a human.
You were a travel baseball kid who secretly hated it the whole time.
Whole time, yeah.
You said you haven't really been happy since you were 13.
True, yeah.
What happened when you were 13?
13 was I think part of it was I got more conscious. I became more aware. 13 was that age where you're kind of starting to take things seriously. And I know that sounds ridiculous, not nearly to the extent or the degree that I'm taking things seriously now. But 13 was like right when I went into high school. And that's where my friendships were dissipating. I didn't have an outlet of fun in my life or something that was giving me joy. I really, really did not like the sport that I played and put so much time and effort into. And
when did you quit baseball?
Right before I turned 15, I quit baseball.
And what did your dad say when you quit baseball?
My parents were very encouraging of me. They always have been. My family understood. They knew I didn't like it. When I was really young, I used to cry and beg not to go to the games. And then as I got older, the only reason, like, people might be listening to this being like, why are you doing something that you hate? It's because I put my identity in it. And literally all of my friends, I'm talking like all of my friends except for some of my neighbors, were kids that played baseball. So I was committing psychological and social suicide at the same time as a 13-year-old kid. Didn't have the balls to do it. When I was 14, I was like, I mean, just how much I hate doing this and wasting my time, and being around people that I don't like is like now greater. That pain is greater than having to put up with it. So yeah, I'm just going to cut it. But to answer your question, both of my parents were supportive of me.
You said your parents sent you to a psychiatrist when you were 16 and you were diagnosed with...
Not when I was 16. I don't know how old. It was sometime in high school.
You were diagnosed with depression, anxiety,
bipolar,
BPD, bipolar disorder, and OCD. Is that right?
Not OCD, manic. Although I do think I definitely have had some really weird OCD stuff. And people say OCD with like I like to organize my M&Ms into the same color. Like, no, I would do like really weird stuff. For example, when I would go to brush my teeth at night, I'd have to walk in the door and out the door 7 times, which is sounds crazy, but I legitimately convinced myself that like I would fail at school if I didn't do that. I had a night routine that took 3 hours, and it was like reading, brushing my teeth, and I don't know what the other thing was, but I was just insane about it. And eventually, I don't know what happened, and this is why I don't think it's actually OCD, is I just like conquered it. And I don't know if that's, I'm just ignorant to the fact. I don't know if you can beat OCD or how that works. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but that's why I never got diagnosed as OCD. But I am manic, bipolar, and then I've had depression on and off for years. Of course, anxiety.
Did you ever take any medication?
They tried to get me to take medication, and I faked taking the medication, but no, you were not going to catch me taking medication, bro. 0% chance. Not doing it.
Why?
Medication is, I think the pharmaceutical industry in America is completely corrupt. And I actually would say that's objective, because if you compare the amount of chronic illnesses, mental illnesses for our country, and we prescribe more medication than any other country, and we have so much more of all those things, There's no way that works. I'm not saying all medication is fraudulent, not at all. Some of it objectively helps and some of it's great. But this sounds cringy, but I was just going to take my suffering raw, go through life, not care. I don't even tell people. I recently disclosed, I don't know when I talked about that on my YouTube videos, but I never really told anyone. Only my very, very close friends knew. And, you know, even my, like, when I say very close friends, these are people that I would talk to once every 3-4 months. So it wasn't, no one really knew. I didn't really, because honestly, in my opinion, to anybody that might be going through mental health issues, believe me when I say I've been there. I know how it is, and I respect everything that you're going through. But for me personally, I felt like medication was cope and that I had to go through the struggle, and that, like, 100% now looking back, that was objectively the right decision. It changed everything in my life. Like my career, I'm chasing my dream. I'm living my dream now. I'm doing everything that I want to do. Not possible had I taken those. I knew some people that they would call it like zombie drugs. They would go to a mental hospital and they would take these drugs, and they described being so numb that their life was almost the absence of feeling or anything. And that's why they called it the zombie drug. And I knew that before I ever got diagnosed with anything. And so that was enough for me to be like, no, I'm not going to do it.